the streaming, and we're starting the streaming now. Oh, yeah, we're gonna record that streaming. We're starting the streaming now. I'm gonna hear the sound. Starting. It's the streaming. It's the streaming. It's starting now. Doot doot. Welcome to the live stream where we do it live. It's 7 o'clock on a Sunday, and it's time for Hollywoke Hot Take, where we talk about movies. Because why not? Someone has to talk about movies. Why not me? And as always, keep reading the Pineys. The next book is just about to go out. I have the cover, working on it now, about halfway through, doing all the important errata and stuff I got to do for the cover. I just have to write up the back blurb and figure out what I want to put on the back. I think I got an idea. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, so give me at least until tonight. I think I'm going to work on that instead of videos, and then we'll see. We'll see what time I go to bed tonight. Oh, man. It was a wild weekend. Oh, let me tell you about my weekend before we get into it. What did I do? It was pretty quiet this week. I mean, it wasn't quiet. I had a lot to do. It's some of it was personal. I can't really tell you about, but or you wouldn't even care anyway. But then Friday, I went to River Road Clam House again, and sold some books. And then yesterday, I went to the South Jersey Geek Fest, and I sold more books there. That was pretty good because I was actually in a horse stable. All the vendors each had a horse stable for some reason. Mainly in case it rained, I would have been underneath the stable roof, and I could have just pulled my table in and I would have been fine. So that was good. I didn't mind it. The stable didn't stink too bad. It kind of smelled like a horse, but it wasn't like a super strong smell. It smelled more like straw than anything else. And then today, my girlfriend and I went out with the fam, and we went to brunch, and that was nice. It's nice to be with the family and eat some delicious food. So we had. That's why I'm a little dressy today. Dressing up for the live stream on Easter. Happy Easter, by the way. Not huge, you know. I'm not super religious, but I like to say Happy Easter. I like to celebrate Easter to a degree. Don't really go to church anymore or anything like that, but, you know, Happy Easter. I don't have a problem with saying it. I don't understand people who are not religious who get so freaking mad at religious people. I mean, back in the day, when religious people were a little obnoxious, even I didn't get that mad at them. I'd just be like, no, dude, I'm not religious. Leave me alone. But these days, it's the irreligious people who, they're annoying. They're so annoying. Like, they can't wait to tell you that they don't believe in God and that they think religious people are stupid. And I'm just like, what is your problem? Can't you just go live your life? I don't understand people can't just go live their lives. They just have nothing to do, I guess. But anyway, Clint Miller's here. Happy Easter. Happy Easter, Clint. Good to see you. Good to see you. We'll see who else wanders in. I did do a little bit of advertising. And I'm a little full of brunch food, so feeling a little sleepy and logy. But we're going to get into some box office results today. It's pretty much what we expect right now. We're in the beginning of the summer movie phase. And we are seeing probably the biggest movie of the year coming out. And it's already doing very well. Also, Project Hail Mary was last week, or the week before, I think it launched, and it was #1 last week too. And doing pretty damn good. People are raving about that movie. I can't wait to see it on a streaming platform, because theaters are so unbearable. But yeah, I did see a movie this week. Me and my girlfriend watched. What did we watch? Oh yeah, Anaconda, the Anaconda remake in 2025 with Paul Rudd and Jack Black. My girlfriend liked it, but I was like, eh. The funniest bit is the bit that's in the trailer, and that's pretty funny. I remember watching the trailer and being mostly happy with it. I think I definitely laughed at that bit, but that's kind of the biggest bit in the film. There's one other bit which also a different trailer gave away, which I had forgotten about until I saw the scene again, and that was pretty funny too. But overall, I would say there's not enough funny bits in that movie at all. Steve Zahn is good. Paul Rudd is good. Jack Black is tolerable in that movie. Thandie Newton, though, is a dead weight. Dead weight. Like, totally miscast. Brutally awful in the whole thing. Every line she delivers might as well have been, like, dead air. Really. I mean, it's that bad for her. She's like too old for the role. She has bad wigs on. Like everything you could possibly think of. Like it would have almost been better to cast a random homeless woman in the role and have her say crazy things than to watch Thandie Newton try to struggle her way through a movie. That to me would have been funnier. Just having some random homeless woman going, I don't know why I'm here. And have her be the love interest for Paul Rudd. That would have been funny. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thandie Newton's supposed to be the love interest for Paul Rudd. I mean, I think it was Indie Phantom on my comment said Thandie was like hot 25 years ago. I don't remember a time when she was hot. I mean, she's not, I wouldn't call her ugly, but like you need a hot chick to be the love interest. Paul Rudd looks fine for his age. He looks absolutely fine. You know, he's got a little bit of his chicken neck, but his face is good. He's got a chin like you wouldn't believe. And he looks good. And that's why he plays a character who's an actor in the movie, I think. I think that's why they didn't give him the dad role. Even though acting-wise, he would have been better at that, and Jack Black would have probably been better as the actor. Like, they needed to switch their bodies or something. They needed to swap out their brains so Paul Rudd could be the overweight dad and who could act, and then Jack Black could be the overexcited actor whose career wasn't going quite well. But instead, they did it the other way, and they kept their brains in their bodies. Hollywood, all that money, and you're not going to swap people's brains. I don't get you, Hollywood. I don't get you. But yeah, so that was my weekend. I got some stuff coming up later in the week, but mostly I'm all about book 20 of the Pineys this week. And then I got to start getting on book 21, which I'm going to get a bit of a late start. I started it, and I kind of know where it's going. But, man, I wish I had... everything this year is late. So annoying. And I'll tell you the one thing that happened to me that was mildly interesting. I fell down at one of my events at River Road, because they have this like landscaping. They had this big rock. Man, I went right down. And, back in the day, I would fall down and get right back up. Wouldn't even, I'd be bleeding and I wouldn't even notice it. This time I went down and I was like, oh. I was lying on the ground going, oh, I don't know if I can get up right away. And then I couldn't. So I kind of laid there for about 30 seconds, slowly rolled over and kind of assessed things. And it took me like about another minute until I could start to get up. And then I got up, and then I was okay. mostly. I kind of banged up my hand and wrist and shoulder a little bit, and I'm mostly okay now. But man, I was just like, oh, it's a good thing a car's not coming. It's a good thing I didn't fall in the middle of the road, because then I'd be screwed. So other than that, that's about the. And then I had to work injured the rest of the day and on Saturday. But I've got like a little wrist thing I put on, so I'm fine. Had to carry my table to the stable. That was like the biggest deal. Anyhow, enough about my problems. Let's get into the problems of Hollywood with today's box office for this weekend. So as you can see, the Super Mario Brother Galaxy movie is number one, baby. $130 million. That's pretty impressive. Yeah, I mean, you gotta, these days, super impressive. Oh, and I think the numbers got its mojo back here. Good. Oh, excuse me. And that's for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday was 130 million. It actually opened on Wednesday, so there's 2 other days on top of that. It broke records on Wednesday for the biggest Wednesday opening. And so it actually already made 190 million domestically, 182 million overseas. And some people were saying it actually already made 400 million. So this is a production budget of 110 million. Oh, I'd heard 200. Doesn't matter. But 110 million were already in money. So 110 million, you need to make 220 plus another half. So you're looking at another 50 million. So call it 280. Done. Done and done. So this movie's already deep in the black the first weekend. That's how you do it. And for all the critics panning this movie, I think you're probably all wrong for what it is. Like, critics don't seem to be able to distinguish between a movie that is critically acclaimed good and a movie that's good for what it is. I prefer movies that are good for what it promises me, right? Under promise, over deliver. When critics go on and on and on about some boring drama and then I see it and it's boring, you've ruined it for me. When critics pan a movie like Predator 2 and then I see it and it exceeds my expectations, I'm like, bravo. I love Predator 2, as you know. Love the ending. And I'm sure I would like the Mario Brothers movie. I didn't see the first one. This is the sequel. Regardless of Charlie Day's recent joke, he made some joke about Luigi and Luigi Mangione. I don't think he really intended it as much of a political statement, but who knows? I think he was just goofing around, but whatever. Clint Miller. The critics never get it right, do they? Well, some, it depends. It's really, in their defense, it's tough to be a critic and you're getting paid for it. Like, imagine you're a media outlet, right? And you want to hire a movie critic. How do you hire a movie critic? It's tough. Ideally, what you would want is a movie director who had some hits, who's like retired and loves to review movies. That would be like the ideal person, right? Somebody who'd been in the industry for years and now is retired, and for his retirement, he's writing articles about the new movies. He would know what the hell he was talking about. So the problem is there's almost nobody like that, because Hollywood is so freaking lucrative. Once you're in, you're pretty much in forever, because even when you're in and you make some bad movies and you make some, Hollywood understands that there's an up and down to everything. So, for instance, Rennie Harlin. Rennie Harlin is a director, directed a lot of big action movies, was a huge name in Hollywood for many years. Like back when Gina Davis was hot, he was making movies like crazy. And then he made a few stinkers, made some like stinker pirate movie with Gina Davis. And that pretty much, you know, torpedoed his career for a while because it was a really expensive movie and it lost money. And that's when he sort of fell off the A-list, and you know, he kind of went away for a while, you know. And you can imagine, you've got all this money, you've been working and working and working on, you know, at the top of your game, and then you finally hit a movie like that, and you're just like, well, F it, I'll just go on vacation forever. You'd probably just step back and stay out of the limelight for a while, and then when you come back, you know, you're getting offers, but you're not getting the offers you used to get. So your initial reaction, if you've been on the A-list, is F you. You know, I normally get $20 million a movie. You're offering me $2? Screw you. But then, you know, a few years go by and you realize, oh, they're not going to ever offer me $20 million again. But they will offer me 2, 3, 4, you know, and to do a movie. So now, you know, years later, I don't know, you need to pay some bills, or you just feel like getting back in the game. So like Rennie Harlin is back with a new Aaron Eckhart movie called Deep Water. I don't even know if it's on the list this week. You know, so maybe you do it for the love of the game. Maybe you do it because you want a couple of mil, and you want to keep your highfalutin lifestyle going. I don't know. I guess everybody's different, but Rennie Harlin could always work, always. Even though he lost a bunch of money in one movie, he made a bunch of money. He made much more money than he lost. You know, and as they keep giving him more money again, you know, he starts back at not at the bottom, but the bottom for him is like probably millions of dollars. Just, you know, not a big budget. And then slowly, you know, oh, he got another hit. Oh, maybe Harlan's, Rennie's back. So they start giving him slightly bigger and bigger movies, and who knows, he could probably get right back to the top again. I mean, he was capable of it once, right? But he'll always work, you know? Somebody who's, you know, some actor who's been in a famous movie, he'll always work. So the idea that one of these people would just retire from Hollywood when you could always work, even Mickey Rourke works, he's getting hundreds of thousands of dollars at least to appear in a terrible B-level movie. I don't even think he would pick up the phone for less than $200,000 now. Guy was, I think he won an Oscar. Didn't he win an Oscar for The Wrestler? Yeah, there's no way he's appearing in a movie without hundreds of thousands of dollars plus, you know, all the amenities that he's used to, too. Because, you know, I mean, yeah, there was a big article about him getting thrown out of his apartment or whatever, but he probably doesn't care. He's more of like, you know, a nomad. He lives on the set where he's living large. You know, you live three to 8 months of the year on a set. Who cares about the apartment? The apartment's just there for when you're not working and you have to, you know, go see your relatives or whatever. So, anyhow, I went off on a tangent there. But the Super Mario Galaxy movie is huge. So let's call it 130 mil this weekend. Next up, also huge, Project Hail Mary at $30 million. Just for its, what was that, the third week? Yeah, third week. And we're already at $420 million. Oh, this is the one that was $200 million. Okay. So this movie was $200 million. It's made its budget back, 420 and a little bit more. Now, advertising, again, that's pretty flexible. According to the formula, it needs to make another $100 million for advertising. That shouldn't be a problem for this movie. Next week, I mean, You look at 30 million, it probably made about 30 million in the international box office, so it's tracking similarly. So next week it'll make, so it made 60 million worldwide this week. Next week it's going to make 30 million. The week after that 15 million. The week after that 7 million. So right there you got 52 million. That's halfway there. You add the rest of the week, you probably come close to another 100 million. And then a few more weeks after that. Plus, you're going to make some money on the platforms. People are going to rent it. I'll certainly rent it for $19.99. Yeah, this movie's definitely in the black, I think. It's not in the black at the moment, but it will be. It will be. It's on track to do that. But Super Mario Brothers just crushing it. So between those two movies, you're talking $160 million. Everything else is just almost pointless. But premiering at number 3, which would have been a little higher had not these two big summer blockbusters come out, is The Drama. This stars Zendaya and Robert Pattinson. What's wrong, Joan? You want to get up? All right, here you go. Don't pee on anything. For God's sake, stop peeing in the house. So, Robert Pattinson and Zendaya, I don't know the exact plot of this thing. In the lead up to their wedding, a seemingly perfect couple bask in nostalgia, reliving the moments that made them fall in love. But when they each confess the worst thing they've ever done, everything changes. Doubt creeps in, the ceremony looms, and love might not be enough to save them. Oh. So it's a stupid movie. Okay, thanks for clearing that up. Yeah, that sounds dumb. But whatever. I don't want to say it. I'm not a huge fan of Zendaya. Robert Pattinson's pretty good, but just in general, I don't want to see a movie about relationships. They generally are boring to me, unless it's going to be a comedy, right? Like a big, wacky comedy like Wedding Crashers. Where you going, Joan? Okay. Sit in your bed. Sit in your bed. But, yeah, I think it could be watchable, but, not really into it. Number 4, Hoppers. This movie did way better than I thought it would. We're in its 4th week, $5.8 million. It made $332 on a $150 million budget. That's about a break-even situation for this movie. They advertised it a lot. They're calling it a hit. I wouldn't call it a hit, but I wouldn't call it a loss necessarily. Again, the advertising, according to the formula, probably cost $75 million. I could see that with this movie. Except it's Disney, and they have a lot of avenues for advertising. And again, on paper, they may have spent $75 million. But really, if that's just a different division of your company, are you really spending the money? Not really. You're just shifting it to another division, paying the taxes on the money again, but you're also writing it off as an expense on the big movie. So it gives the appearance that, they spent $75 million. Oh, Hoppers, that lost money, according to the IRS, most likely. And technically it would be true through their accounting measures, but, who knows? Reminders of Him drops from 4 to 5, 2.2 million. So, after a perfect outing with her boyfriend, Kenna makes an unbearable mistake that sends her to prison. 7 years later, Kenna returns to her hometown in Wyoming, hoping to rebuild her life and earn a chance to reunite with her young daughter, Diem, whom she has never known. When Diem's custodial grandparents adamantly refuse Kenna's attempt to see her daughter, Kenna discovers unexpected compassion and then something truer and deeper with former NFL player and a local bar owner, Ledger. As their secret romance develops, so do the dangers for both of them, leading Kenna towards heartbreak and ultimately the hope for a second chance. Okay. Sounds like a drama. Not really my thing. Number 6, A Great Awakening opens to 2.1 million. Again, this is a religious movie about the early days of a church in America, based on a true story. It's got Ben Franklin in it. I might see a movie like this only because Ben Franklin's in it and it's supposed to be historic. Back in the day, I definitely would have saw it because this is the way I got my history. But I these days I don't trust Hollywood at all. So, what studio made this thing? Was it Angel? Angel Studios? Doesn't really say. Not seeing it. Yeah, but might be a good jumping off point for some research that I'm doing. Number 8 is dropping from 5. Oh, wait, I skipped one. Number 7, dropping from 3, They Will Kill You. In its second week, dropping 61%. Oof. I kind of wanted to see this movie. I've heard good things. 1.9 million. Kind of got a solid premise about a maid, and she gets out of prison, takes a job at this hotel, and they're killing people in the hotel, and she's kind of got to fight her way out. Number 8, Durandar, The Revenge, dropping from 5 to 8, 1.8 million. This movie's doing pretty good for a Bollywood production brought to the United States. Also at 1.8 million, Ready or Not 2, dropping from 6 to 9. It's a standard, like, we're going to hunt humans for sport movie. Scream 7 is in 10, dropping from 7, 915K. Again, who cares? Goat, dropping from 8 to 11, 800,000. Then Undertone, dropping from 9 to 12, 389,000. Now we're really getting into the bottom barrel here. It's kind of amazing, the drop off. It is steep, man. Go for hundreds of millions, tens of millions, millions to a few 100,000. I mean, it's right off a cliff. Then Fantasy Life, a rom-com, 322,000. That's up from 30. It's at number 13. They're trying to make it work in its second week. And it also in its second week, and I love to see this movie fail, Forbidden Fruits. $271,000, dropping 77%. And I'm not surprised because this looked terrible, number one. And number 2, it's got a lot of feminism in it. It's another one of these movies that, it's just tons of women working on it, and they're so full of themselves that they think not only will people see it, but that they should see it and that they should like it. And that's a poor attitude for an entertainer to have, in my opinion. I mean, you obviously want to hope that people see it. You hope people like it. You got to stay humble, man. If you're an entertainer, you got to stay humble. Nobody likes an arrogant entertainer. Nobody likes to be entertained by an arrogant SOB, especially one that started with a lot of money. Like, if you're joking around, like if you're a comedian, that's one thing, because you could say, oh, no, I'm just kidding. But, man, some of these entitled Nepo babies out in Hollywood, they make movies, and then they think they're God's gift of movies, and it's sickening. They've got so much money, and, they're not making anything crazy. They're not making anything good, and as far as I can see. This movie's about, like, these hot girls who think they're witches, or they work at a mall. Who cares? So that dropped 77%. That movie's cooked. Absolutely cooked. What was the budget? Do we have a budget? No, it probably didn't cost that much. But Diablo Cody, I think, is one of the producers. Next up, the AI doc, or How I Became an Apocalyptimist, 270K. Documentaries kind of don't count, but it dropped by 58%, so it's not a great sign. But again, it's a documentary, so it's kind of like if it does okay, even if it just doesn't completely implode, it's fine. After that, Palestine 36, 130K. This has been in theaters for a long time. I don't know who the audience is anymore, but go ahead. Avatar, Fire and Arse, 54K, still in theaters, still in 80 theaters. Epic, Elvis Presley in Concert, still in theaters, 38K. Mirrors, number 3, 30K. Our Hero Balthazar, in its second week, dropping 36%, which isn't bad, but it's only in 4 theaters. It's at 21K. The Stranger, premiering in 2 theaters. Let's see what this movie's about. Meursault works as a clerk at the office in Algiers during the French colonial occupation. A modest man who keeps to himself, Meursault finds his routine upended by the sudden death of his mother. At her funeral, he faces scrutiny from all corners for his failure to perform his grief. Meursault's reputation for otherworldly detachment carries over to all aspects of his life, from his tentative romance with Marie to his indifference to professional advancement. As Meursault gets swept up in a cycle of escalating reprisals amongst his neighbors, tensions come to a head when he murders an Arab man on the beach. Jesus. A Frenchman may offer many defenses for shooting an Arab in Algeria, but Meursault's refusal of excuse or remorse shakes colonial society to its core. Well, it sounds like there's a lot of detail in there, but I'm not really getting it. So, I don't know. Maybe I would see this, only because it's a foreign film, and I kind of feel like I don't know what it's about, even though I just read all that. Mark by Sophia, 19K. Send Help, that Sam Raimi movie, 17K. 17K, excuse me. Alpha, in its second week, dropping 88%. Jesus, that's not good. But it was only in 51 theaters. Alpha, a troubled 13-year-old, lives with her single mom. Their world collapses the day she returns from school with a tattoo on her arm. Okay. People not liking it, seems. The Blue Trail, premiering near the bottom in 2 theaters. $7,900. In the midst of a quest for economic recovery, the government institutes compulsory colonies, confining the elderly so they can enjoy their final years of life. Teresa, 77, is a resident of an industrialized city in the Amazon. Is surprised to be included in the program when the minimum age is changed. With only a few days left, Teresa decides to challenge her destiny, embarking on a journey along the rivers and tributaries of the Amazon to fulfill one last wish. I still kind of don't know what that movie's about. Yeah, I'll pass. Continental 25. This movie actually looked kind of interesting. It's, again, another foreign flick about a bailiff who evicts this homeless guy, and it sets off a chain of events, so maybe. Then John Lilly and the Earth Coincidence Control Office, in its second week. I think it's a low-budget affair. 89 minutes. The daring experimenter, Dr. John C. Lilly, dedicated his life to radical self-investigation and unlocking the mysteries of consciousness and communication. My body is my laboratory was the motto, and his research on the language of dolphins and whales, as well as psychedelics and sensory deprivation, assured his own cult status in 20th century pop culture as the basis for Ken Russell's Altered States and Mike Nichols' The Day of the Dolphin. Okay. And finally, Natchez. $3,133 for a grand total of $194,973,591. A lot of money. Almost $195 million. And $160 million, over $160 million, is from the first two movies. So the rest is $30 million. You add the top three movies, and you got about $15 million spread out. So you add the top 10 movies, and basically it's the entire box office minus maybe 3 or 4 million. So that's interesting. It's like movies are being centralized, which is bad. But really, a lot of these movies look terrible and unwatchable, and or at least you wouldn't want to pay for them. You know, they're not good enough to be watched in a movie theater now. Like the bar to go to a movie theater is now higher because it's so expensive, and it's a luxury to go to the theater, and it's not a great experience. So it's it's something that I would not do based on this. But anyhow, moving on, let's see what's happening in the trades. Variety, acknowledging the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which is surprising considering, again, most of the critics and trades seem to pan the movie, but it's hard to deny the numbers, right? Legendary 60 Minutes correspondent Stephen Croft says he hated working on the show. It's just 24 hours a day. Okay? Seems a rough assessment, but I mean, work somewhere else if you don't like it. Pepsi cancels sponsorship of UK festival where Kanye West is set to headline, hours after Prime Minister decries his previous celebration of Bad Guys from Germany. Yeah, why would Pepsi want to be associated with Kanye West? I wouldn't want to be associated with him. Diageo has joined Pepsi in dropping out of sponsoring the Wireless Festival after British politicians and others blasted the controversial booking. Which shows you about how, dedicated to free speech and hearing other voices these music people are. Oh, they'll hide behind that when it's, somebody calling for the destruction of the West. But when a guy talks like this about other groups of people, and I don't condone either one of those groups talking about that. I don't think entertainers should be doing that. They just shut up. They should say no to most of these people. Most of them. But, so adios, Kanye. Probably won't matter, in terms of the ticket sales and whatnot. They'll just get some other soda brand to come in there. Shrinking creator Bill Lawrence says season 4 will have a new story with the same cast. Sounds like a great sleep fest. If I had Apple TV, it'd be great to turn that on and go fast asleep. Malcolm in the Middle star Eric Purr-Sullivan turned down buckets of money to return as Dewey in the series revival, says Jane Kazermak, who I believe plays the mom in Malcolm in the Middle. Good for him. I think the new Malcolm in the Middle looked a little woke. and it didn't look great. And adding, I think they added some kind of non-binary character or whatever. I was like, oh God, why? Why in a show like that? It's obvious to me the kind of reunion show that Malcolm in the Middle should have been from a story standpoint. What was Malcolm in the Middle about? It was about brothers, right? It was about raising boys and how crazy they are, right? And how much trouble they get into. So Francis was, the oldest brother, and he was super in trouble all the time. So much trouble that he basically gets kicked out of the house. And the other three brothers, despite the fact that Frankie Muniz's character, Malcolm, is very smart, they're in a lot of trouble too. So it should have just been, if I was writing Malcolm in the Middle, I would have said boys. It has to always be boys. And when the mother had another baby, boy, immediately it has to be a boy. And that boy has to be even worse than the previous brothers and do crazier things. So when you do a reunion show and they're all older and they have kids, they should all have boys too. Now, you would throw in a girl or two, but those girls should act as crazy as the boys. Because the idea of the show was how awful. I mean, in some respects, it was a bit of an inspiration to me. I do a comic strip on the Web Comic Factory called I Hate My Kids. And the idea behind the strip is kids are, so impossible to manage. They get into so much trouble. That's the joke. Oh, I hate my kids. You don't really hate your kids, but they drive you crazy. So, it really should have just been a show about that. So the grandchildren should have been driving the kids crazy, while finally the mom and Bryan Cranston and Jane get to be grandparents and get to spoil the grandkids and even enable them to be bad. But it's kind of hard to do, because from a narrative standpoint, the focus, kind of needs to be on the new kids and how crazy they are, when really, since it's a reunion show and you're bringing back the actors, the focus has to be on the actors who were in the old show. So you can't really focus on the new ones, but you can kind of and sort of just show them off camera getting into trouble. But you could do a thing when they all get into trouble, right? Like the adult versions get into trouble too. And but adding, gender identity, I think was a huge mistake. It's just a total turnoff, a complete and utter turnoff. The moment I hear that, I'm like, I'm out. I am out. It doesn't matter if you put a little bit or a lot, or the whole show revolves around it, or you just merely make a mention of it. The moment I hear it, I have to assume your writer's room is full of identity people, DEI hires, who are all about identity and all about the message and not about the comedy. And I want nothing to do with those people. They're cranks. They're idiots. They don't know how to write. They'll sacrifice the jokes to put in some stupid message that I don't want to see at all. So, I'm out. So, maybe Eric got that message and said, nah, I'm out. Or maybe just said, I got my money. What do I need this hassle for? But I respect it, walking away when you have money. Tina Fey crashes Jack Black's SNL monologue. I so don't care about SNL anymore. Let's see. Savannah Guthrie sets Today Show return. Here's how to stream the morning show online for free. Don't care. Brian Cox drags Tarantino, says Jeremy Strong has begged me to stop discussing his method acting and disses America for not liking women. Okay, whatever, dude. Brian Cox is now just like Hollywood's resident crank, I guess. He's constantly saying stuff. Tarantino's kind of a big mouth too. All right. Here's another thing that happened this week, which I kind of still trying to wrap my brain around. Jonathan Majors is back. You remember him? He was Kang, and then he got convicted of hitting his girlfriend, which I felt like, I don't know. I saw some of the footage from the incident and heard some. I didn't hear the whole testimony, so maybe he did, but it seemed a little. The whole thing seemed a little sus to me. The timing seemed weird, but maybe he was under a lot of pressure and lost his temper or whatever. I don't know. But the Daily Wire scooped him up to buff up their movie production and put him in a movie. Not the dumbest move in the world from a purely movie standpoint, if the Daily Wire really wants to get into movie production. Although I think they need to ramp it up a little bit, but sure, Jonathan Majors has a little bit of name recognition, at least enough that any more than, you know, any of the other actors you have, other than maybe Matt Walsh. So Jonathan Majors was in a scene with another actor, and it's a scene where I think he gets shot, and he fell backwards and bumped into the other actor, and they both fell through a window in a hotel somewhere and then fell 6 feet. The other actor got stitches in his hand. I don't think Majors was hurt. But this apparently was the last straw for the crew. And that the accident occurred after the window was replaced with an unsecured sheet of tempered glass to be purposely shattered in a later stunt that didn't involve any actors. Weird. I mean, they're very lucky that they weren't more seriously hurt. I mean, that's not enough of a drop to kill you, but it'd be enough to break your arm or even break your leg or mess up your knee. So then the crew went on strike. They walked off the job. So apparently this was the last straw for them. So there have been a series of other incidents on the set, my understanding. And now I guess the Daily Wire is going to replace the crew. Not exactly sure who's at fault here. It sounds like something's going on. You know, the crew, crews don't want to go on strike, generally speaking. But then again, they weren't in danger, so it's weird that they're going on strike. But would they have been blamed if these actors were hurt more seriously? Possibly. Maybe they don't have enough stunt coordinators or whatever for the movie. It's hard to tell from here, but I do know that working on productions that don't have a lot of money, the producer's always looking to cut corners. Always looking to cut corners. And not for nothing, depending on the production, sometimes the crew, the director, and even the actors are all in it together to just do something they probably shouldn't be doing. So I know I've worked on little films where, we've tried to do our own stunts, right? Tried to get, guys to drive a car and maybe skid or, peel out when we don't have any safety equipment at all. Or we've had guys, ride on the roof of a car just to get a shot or whatever. You take your chances and hope for the best, right? It can go wrong, but if it doesn't, you get the shot, it's all good, right? And you're sitting in the background during the premiere going, oh man, how'd you get that shot? I'm like, But yeah, you got to be careful though. I mean, a guy like Jonathan Majors, if he had gotten really hurt, not only would the production have been in big trouble, this would have been big news. And as it stands, it's kind of big news already. So See what happens. It sounds like Daily Wire's looking to replace the crew. Maybe they should have went with a non-union crew. Then you probably wouldn't have heard anything about this. UCLA wins first NCAA women's basketball championship, dominating South Carolina Gamecocks, to which I say, who cares? I don't know why they keep trying to make female basketball a thing, but man, they really, really love to push female basketball, don't they? WGA and the studios reach a deal. Okay. Nearly a month before the union's contract was due to expire, so I guess that's good. Kind of hard to say. I mean, again, I feel like the guilds are just tools for the studio to, cut back on even more workers. They raise the pay, but they make it up somewhere, I think. After standing up for immigrants, Charles Barkley sounds off about Iran, Artemis II mission, Pam Bondi, and SNL March Madness opener. Don't care. Sir Charles shoots off his mouth all the time. I don't think he really knows much. Dakota Mortensen will be edited out of Vanderpump Villa after domestic violence investigation involving Taylor Frankie Paul. Okay, so more fallout from that domestic violence incident, I guess. Harry Potter behind-the-scenes special shows off rigorous casting process, never-before-seen creatures, Dumbledore's robe, and more. Okay. Savannah Guthrie shares emotional Easter message amid her mom's disappearance. I have questioned whether Jesus really ever experienced this particular wound that I feel. Okay. Meanwhile, Kanye West Bully debuts number 2 on albums chart as BTS holds the top spot with Arirang. Okay, so there's a reason the concert promoters want Kanye West in that concert in the UK. He's still somehow delivering the goods to his fans. Number 2 album, wow. Friends star Lisa Kudrow says sitcoms are too afraid to make jokes that make people uncomfortable. I'm not buying it. Please go back to sitcoms and never ever leave them again, Lisa Kudrow. I'm still furious that you were cast in the Time Bandits reboot. I really can't blame you. It's probably mostly on Taika Waititi and the woke tards that work underneath him, I'm guessing, but man, that was a dumb move. And it kind of hits me just in the wrong way. Let's see. SNL UK ratings dropped by 42% for Riz Ahmed hosted episode. So that's not going well over in the UK. I wonder how long they'll keep this on the air. Forever? I mean, it seems like television and movies and Hollywood, people just fail their way up. So maybe, I don't know, maybe because their politics are correct, they'll just keep doing this stupid show. All right, moving on to Fandom Pulse. Happy Easter. 2 lost Doctor Who episodes from 1965 have been found, and you can watch them now. So that's kind of cool. They're old school. They're like First Doctor, black and white episodes. So 60 years ago, 2 episodes of Doctor Who aired on the BBC, and then, as far as anyone knew, ceased to exist. This week, they came back. Wow. The Nightmare Begins and Devil's Planet. Okay. Written by Dalek creator Terry Nation, featuring William Hartnell's first Doctor alongside companions Stephen Taylor, played by Peter Purves. Second episode of the arc had already been found previously, meaning the first 3 episodes are now complete. The serial is one of the longest in the show's history, and only 5 of its 12 total episodes have now been recovered. I wonder if they have the scripts for them, and I wonder if they could do the rest in AI. That would be interesting. Let's see. Anything else here? Game of Thrones artist Mike S. Miller talks translating the Gospel of Jesus to comics. Look, I did comics for a long time, and I would go to shows and I would say almost regularly, there'd be one guy at the show doing a religious comic. And it would always sell a certain amount, but it was never a hit. Now, in the coming years, you might be able to get a hit comic going with a religious line. But I think part of the problem is you can only do so much with a religious comic. You know, you could do the Bible stories, and, you know, some of them are pretty cool or whatever. But people have seen them a million times. It's nice that you can buy a Bible comic and give it to the kids if that's what you want to do. But, you know, the other religious kind of comics, they kind of all hit the same way. So, I don't know. But I would say in the not too distant future, this could be a big seller. But I think a lot of guys are going to be doing it. Red Letter Media claims source told them that less than 40,000 people watch Starfleet Academy per episode. That's amazing. Think about that. Now, first off, if that's true, congrats on Red Letter Media for breaking this story. It's been a while since I heard they ever broke a story. But you're talking about a show that cost millions of dollars. And when you spend millions of dollars and then only 40,000 people, less than 40,000 people watch it, that's pathetic. That's like, I mean, how many people would that be per episode? How much money would that be per person per episode? You're talking, if the show was like, let's say it was $4 million an episode, you're spending like, I don't know, $100 a person? $100 a person just to get them to watch a show? That's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Clint Miller. How about all the old chick comics that slammed the Catholic Church in the 60s and 70s? How did they do? I don't even remember those. I remember in the 70s, comics used to slam Christianity because they're really big on Satanism, right? There'd be these indie comics about satanic cults out in the woods and some corrupt sheriff, and they'd be sort of like late stage hippies. They're not really hippies, but they all have long hair, and they went out in the woods to smoke weed and drink beer, and then some satanic cult tries to kidnap them, and they have to save the girls, and I don't know, they either all die or they save them. But, you know, back in the day, comics were subversive. They would do all sorts of crazy things, and people didn't like it. If they found out about it. A lot of times you just never heard about it. There were all sorts of crazy comics, like they'd sell them in head shops in Philadelphia and other places. And yeah, it'd be these weird comics just for the sake of being weird a lot of times. And it would appeal to people who were like in the comics, late stage hippies with long hair who'd go out in the woods and smoke weed and drink beer. And that's the kind of people who would buy those comics. They were considered cool. The comics were considered cool. They never sold that many because, you know, cool people don't have time for comics. They're too busy getting laid and smoking weed and drinking beer out in the woods. So yeah, they never did really well because they never had a wide appeal. And parents certainly wouldn't let their kids read them. Some of them were fun, but, you know, a lot of them were just the same old. And but I think that's gonna flip, Clint. I really do. But the Starfleet Academy, basically spent probably over $100 per person just to watch it. And that's a lot of money to spend on just one person. You know? Just one person to watch. I mean, you could get more people to watch if you gave them all $20 just to watch it. Probably would have had more people watch the damn show if you cut back the budget so you give people, oh, watch the show and you get $20. I'll watch the damn show. But the show was just a dumb idea from the beginning. The very idea that you were going to do this Space 90210, as Paul Chato coined. Man, that was a great turn of phrase. You know, about gay Klingons and who's sleeping with who. No one wants this. No one wants this. It's anti-entertainment. It has zero audience. The people who watch Star Trek don't want it, certainly. They made that abundantly clear. Those people are nerds. There's very few of them that are this obsessed with dating and who's sleeping with who that they could ignore the mountains of other evidence that the show just sucks and flies in the face of canon. You know, some of those are female geeks who would love to watch a show where there are relationships. But I'm telling you, even female geeks, female Trekkies would look at this show and go, that's not canon. That doesn't make any sense. They couldn't get past it, would be my guess. The flip side is the people who normally like these kinds of shows about who's sleeping with who and, you know, sexy characters doing sexy things. Those people aren't going to watch Star Trek. They hear Star Trek and they go, what? That's for nerds. They are also too busy going out into the woods and smoking weed and drinking beer and getting laid. They don't have time for Star Trek. And I certainly don't have time for a show like this. And I would love to watch Star Trek. I used to love the original Star Trek. I would watch it all the damn time. Current Star Trek, Kurtzman Trek, it's an abomination. Why Hollywood thinks they could get an audience out of this is insane. The audience already existed. And it's bigger than 40,000 people an episode. Now, it's niche. Sci-fi fans are niche. But they're loyal. And they're more than 40,000. I'll tell you that. So, everybody involved in this show should be fired and drummed out of show business. But I've said that so many times, it's lost all meaning. There's so many people in the industry now dedicated to creating entertainment that I don't even know if they would watch this show. I literally don't think the people who made this show could sit through an entire season of it. I don't think they could. I think they would get bored of it and just turn it right off. If, you know, as long as they could do it without anybody knowing. If you were videotaping them, they'd watch it and pretend to like it. But I think in private, I don't even think the people in this show would watch it. It's so bad. It's so stupid. So some of the stupidest people in the world, I think, are making this show. And I think that's on purpose to some degree. Again, I think the CCP wants to destroy Hollywood so they can control it, so they can make and finance the movies. How's that going? Oh, not so well. Hollywood's just about done, but other entertainment is emerging. It just won't emerge from Hollywood and Southern California soon. I think it's just going to emerge from other places. And eventually AI will decentralize everything to the point where you don't know where entertainment's going to arise. It's like the YouTube shows, right? You don't know where some guy's going to make an amazing YouTube show. You know? A show about who knows what. You know, there's plenty of cooking shows now. Like, you could literally turn on YouTube and boom, there's a cooking show. Exactly what you want to cook. now. I mean, it's amazing. Some of the cooking shows. There's my favorite, of course, is Tasting History. I love that series. I don't watch it all the time, but when I'm in the mood for it, I've got hundreds of episodes to watch because he's made so many of them. And when you have that kind of library, like me, I recently, not too long ago, discovered Asmongold, and I never really watched his videos. But, after watching Sticks and Hammer for years, and he's basically done on YouTube, I'm not sure what his deal is. I've heard several conflicting reports. I keep he's doing videos on Rumble, by the way, every once in a while, but I need another long-haired weirdo ranting about the government. So, Asmongold it is. Jesse is here. Hey, Jesse. Welcome to the stream. Happy Easter. I'm sure everybody's with their families if they're not here today. We were just talking about, yet again, Starfleet Academy. 40,000 people per episode, if you can believe it. 40,000 people. It's just, if you do a TV show and only 40,000 people watch it, you should just quit television. That would be like you getting a job as a fry cook. And you make food and you make 100 sandwiches that day. And 3 people like the sandwich. And everybody else complains. You shouldn't be making sandwiches anymore. You should get a different job. If you pump gas for a living, and almost all the gas you pump ends up on the ground, you should stop pumping gas. You are bad at it. It's very simple. If you make a show with a viewership of 40,000 people, that's beyond bad. And some shows, they didn't do well. Partly it was their time slot and whatnot, but a show that does 40,000 an episode, I mean, you're talking, that's nothing. Clint Miller says, hey, Jesse. Jesse, we went fishing earlier today, caught a lot of red snappers. It was a great trip, and I also saw Project Hail Mary. It was pretty nice. The jokes were mostly lame, but it was a nice film. Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I was talking earlier, I just saw Anaconda 2025. I wanted to like it, I really did, but it's not great. It's not, surprisingly, it's not really woke. I mean, it's kind of like some girl boss stuff in it, but it's just not great. The best you could say about it is it's mid. It aspires to be mid. But I wanted to like it. I want a good comedy. I really do. Oh, this story. Dungeon Crawler Carl gets Peacock streaming series after Arthur virtue signals against the right wing. So, apparently, Dungeon Crawler Carl was a book series. I've heard about it off and on. And apparently, The Critical Drinker was a contributor to one of the early books. I think it's called... I already forgot it. I forget what it's called. But I think it was book 3 or something. So he put out a statement basically blasting The Critical Drinker, saying something like, oh, I wish I'd never put his contribution into the book, and I look forward to one day excising him from the book or something. This is a guy who I had never heard of, and I think I might have heard of him through The Critical Drinker, and now he's hitting some success, and he's just throwing The Critical Drinker underneath the bus as if he's some sort of right-wing nut job. And there ain't no way the critical drinkers. He's barely political. I mean, he points out the message. That's one of the things he's done in his videos for many years. He's like, oh, the message, the message. Like, how is he lying? Jesse, wait, there's a 2025 Anaconda film? The hell? Did Nicki Minaj do a remake? No, it was Paul Rudd and Jack Black. I don't know if you remember. They were making commercials about it. And the premise of the film is they play two friends who wanted to, their childhood friends, and they wanted to make movies all their lives. Jack Black becomes a wedding photographer, and Paul Rudd goes out to LA and he becomes like a bit actor on TV series. Then there's Steve Zahn, who's the cameraman. He's very funny in it. Paul Rudd and Steve Zahn are very funny in it. Jack Black is tolerable. He has the best bit in the movie, but he's a little over the top for the character he's playing. But the fourth character in the movie, and she drags the whole thing down for me, is Thandie Newton. And I know, Thandie Newton, you'd like, what? Of course they got to put a female character in one of the roles just to mix it up a little bit, although really they don't have to. But Thandie Newton is horribly miscast. She's wearing wigs throughout the movie that look like wigs and look terrible on her. And every line she has is nothing. It's literally dead air. She's supposed to be Paul Rudd's love interest, and they have negative chemistry. I've never seen two actors with such lack of chemistry in a movie. They're supposed to be playing, two friends who didn't get together, but they were sort of dating when they were kids, and now they're older. Thandie just broke up with her boyfriend, and Paul Rudd's character doesn't have a girlfriend, and so they get together, and in the fake movie they're making, they have a romantic interest. And even in those scenes, the idea is they're supposed to be acting like they're in love, but they're not really. But then when they do it, they get turned on a little, and they're like, oh, is there some feelings here? And those scenes come off completely flat. Like Paul Rudd's trying to do it, and then it cuts to Thandie Newton. You're just like, she's just too old for the role. She's not good looking enough. Her wigs are terrible. Her acting's terrible. It's a S show with her. Jesse, the original was more of a thriller. I don't know why they made this one a comedy. Somebody told me they made 6 of them, and they're kind of like almost over the top and sort of thriller comedies or horror comedies. And they have cameos. Oh, excuse me. They have cameos of Ice Cube, who's in the original Anacondas, and Jennifer Lopez, which cool, but I never saw the originals. So, and I thought the originals looked stupid. So why you would remake Anaconda like everybody saw it? I think you picked the wrong movie. Like if I had to pick a movie from the late 90s and 2000s to remake that was stupid but known enough to remake, what would I pick? Let me think about this for a minute. Let's go to the IMDb and get some ideas. Or no, wait, I'll do a search. Give me a list of popular movies from the late 90s to early 2000s. Let's get some inspiration here. Jesse, Lake Placid versus Anaconda is a thing. I think the first actual film tried to be serious. Yes. So yeah, here are some 90s and 2000 movies. Popular ones. Tommy Boy, no. Encino Man, maybe, but it wouldn't have worked in this film. Can Hardly Wait, don't remember that. Saving Silverman, Kinda, but that's already a comedy, so it wouldn't really work. Go, no. Chasing Amy, no. Loser, don't remember that. Slums of Beverly Hills, no. Office Space, hilarious movie, but no. Clueless, Black Sheep, The Cable Guy, Say It Ain't So, Biodome, maybe. Jesse, I remember a story of some U.S. troops seeing a giant snake in Nicaragua. Oh, really? Shallow Hal? Well, that was one that Jack Black was actually in, so maybe. Son-in-Law, Dirty Work. Dirty Work's a great movie, but that wouldn't have worked. Paul Barrow. All these are comedies. You remember when we used to do comedies? Two Girls and a Guy, 10 Things I Hate About You. That one was pretty popular. I don't think that would have worked as a remake for this movie. Three to Tango, Boys and Girls, Trojan War, American Pie, The Very Thought of You, Here on Earth, How to Deal, Down to You, Miss March, Euro Trip, Addicted to Love, Road Trip, maybe. Truth About Cats and Dogs, Jawbreaker, Outside Providence, Intermission, Next Stop Wonderland, Happy Campers, Twice Upon a Yesterday, I don't even know these movies, Billy's Hollywood Screens Kiss, Love and Other Catastrophes. Okay, let's try to narrow it down more. Let's get a monster movie in there. Late 90s, early 2000s. Horror and monster movies. Too many comedies on this list. Blair Witch? Maybe. Probably couldn't get the rights to that. Scream's there. Yeah, they're already remaking that to death. The Creeper, The Faculty. Maybe. Event Horizon. There it is. Yeah. But again, probably it wouldn't have worked. Only because it would have required... See, like, they needed something that would require a road trip. Deep Rising, The Cell, Dawn of the Dead, no. The Sixth Sense, The Others, The Ring. No, they made too many of them. So, Jeepers Creepers, maybe. But see, a lot of these movies they're already remaking. Event Horizon would be my choice. Maybe Blair Witch. Doesn't really work. Yeah, The Mist. The problem is they've remade everything to death. Yeah, here's Shaun of the Dead, Idle Hands. Idle Hands, maybe. Bride of Chucky. Again, Chucky would have been a good choice had they not beaten that IP to death. So, I don't know. Maybe they could have made up a movie. God forbid. God forbid they made something up in Hollywood. Jesse, Event Horizon I've never seen, but I know it's cool. The Faculty was interesting, but it confused me with how the people survived. The amazing thing about Event Horizon is just such an insane movie about a spaceship that goes to hell. Because the most insane part about it isn't even that concept. It's the ship itself. Like the design of the Event Horizon is so insane. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. They put like these explosive charges all along this ship for some reason, which comes into play at the end of the movie. And they have to like arm them all. And so like, I think it's Lawrence Fishburne is like floating down the hall and he's arming all these things that are going to go off when the thing goes off. Also, they have this crazy engine that takes them beyond, into hell, I guess. And it's this weird, like, spike thing that twirls around like it would kill you if you got anywhere near it. Just doesn't make any sense. But getting back to the article, the dungeon crawler Carl guy apparently threw the critical drinker under the bus in an attempt to, I guess, appease his Hollywood masters. That's what they're insinuating by this. I don't know if that's true. He may just have come to his own conclusions and decided to do that, or maybe it was a conscious decision based on their deal. They might have said to him, "Hey, listen, you're associated with this guy, and we'd prefer if you push him away or whatever." I don't think Hollywood guys would bother. I don't think they would even know who the critical drinker was or care. But apparently Dungeon Crawler Carl's creator has. So this makes me never want to see this. I never want to see this now. So when it comes out and they have a big splash for it, I'll just be here probably criticizing it. Jesse, Dead Space would be a wicked movie if they made one for cinema. I thought they were developing that at one point. I saw the animated prequel and my stomach churned watching how horrifying it was. That was a horrifying video game. I really liked. What is it? It's Dead Space, right? I think we're thinking of the same thing. So it's the video game one, right? This was a big story this week too. Earlier in the week, J.J. Abrams, Bad Robot, is leaving L.A. Now apparently they had an insanely big office, which had like, how do I describe it? It had rooms with tables of like Legos and art supplies. And the idea was you would go in there, and if you had a creative moment, you could go into the art room and make something. And then that was to encourage creativity in the office. So I find J.J. Abrams one of the most cynical creators in Hollywood. And the fact that he would go through those motions and pretend like he gave a flying F about developing something new just blows me away. I think it's more evidence that he is extremely cynical when it comes to his creative decisions and formulaic, because he's all about his crazy mystery boxes. And a mystery box is like literally, what's that box doing there? I don't know. We'll have to figure it out as we go along. And then during the series, you keep referencing the box and hinting what's in the damn box, but you don't really show it until maybe at the end of the series. But then by the time you get to the end of the series, like, who cares? And that's was Lost and a bunch of his other related movies and shows. Lost was like that, right? Because they were constantly hinting what the island was. What is the island? Why are they here? And then they would reveal one thing and it would look like it was going that way. And then they'd reveal another thing and another entity and another faction and another this. And you never really got to know because there wasn't really an ending. There wasn't really a plan to end it. It was so, they kept it so fluid purposely to try to, I think, extract so much money out of it and keep it going as long as possible. It's almost as if the corporate side of the business has infiltrated the creative side to such an extent that now you have corporate creatives who come up with this mindset of, well, I'm just going to create things based on how much money it gives me. So in the case of J.J. Abrams, he went into the Star Wars and the Star Trek movies not with the sense of, well, I'm going to reboot these and do something new or add to the legend or whatever. He went in there with the express idea, how can I extract as much money as possible before this entire pyramid scheme collapses? And then part of it was, of course, Kathleen Kennedy for Star Wars, but I think part of it, though, is he wanted, it's like building a movie based on the trailer. Like if you go with an idea of a trailer, and I've done this too in my own work to some extent. You picture a trailer in your head about a movie, and there are certain lines and certain moments you want in the trailer. And you have an outline for the story, but then you realize, well, I need these certain lines in the actual movie so I can put them in the trailer. So then you go back and you work those lines into the screenplay, regardless of whether or not they make all that much sense. You see what I'm saying? So, like, if you need a car chase to do something crazy, you work it in. Even if that car chase is like, oh, we're doing a car chase now? That seemed to come out of nowhere. And that's what they do, I think, in a lot of these cases. And I think J.J. Abrams is especially guilty of doing these kinds of things. And he puts certain lines in there, even when they're kind of inorganic. It's not the way to do it. I mean, you can consider it, obviously. It's something to consider while you're doing something, that you might like to have this or that. Or if you already have a scene that's pretty close to what you want, maybe you can modify it and say, well, if I modify it, will this impact the story? But the story has to be first. Your audience has to be first. And I don't think that's the case with these kind of corporate creators. What's first for them is how much money I can extract. And in the old days, you would have had guys who were in the business long enough. They were older guys who had been in Hollywood forever. They at least understand the rules that, yes, we want to make money, but you have to entertain people in order to accomplish that. And the more you can entertain them, the more money you make. But now I think we have a bunch of entitled, just like we have a bunch of entitled talent in Southern California, I think you have a bunch of entitled movie execs who don't care about that. They also just want to extract as much money as possible from the general public. And they want to take the shortcuts, and they're perfectly okay with hiring people like J.J. Abrams because they do what they want. And that's a death knell too in a lot of cases. And in the old days, you would have had a movie, it's not a hit, and then they're going to fire people. All right, you lost this $200 million. Pack up your bags, get the hell out. Now that just doesn't seem the case. They have movies fail all the time and lose $100 million. They don't just keep those movies and those people. They give it Oscars. One battle after another, and I can't get over it. It's Oscar win. It lost over $100 million by the math I did. Indie Phantom is finally here. How late am I? Pretty late, dude. It's 90 minutes in. But welcome. Hollywoke chicks getting way entitled. Jesse, 87 minutes, Indie. Indie Phantom, JJ moving his company. Yes. And he's moving it to New York, which, again, in the old days, that would have been the move because there were only two places to have production companies. You had it in Hollywood if you want to make movies. Indie Phantom, one battle should have sunk WB. Yeah, it really should have. These days, it's just another mark on... I mean, look, even if it didn't financially ruin the WB, they certainly wouldn't want it to get an Oscar. I don't think. I think it would have nominated... I think it would have pushed... They also produced Sinners. Push Sinners. Sinners was a decent flick. Decent enough. I mean, I don't think it's Oscar worthy, but I enjoyed it. It was at least entertaining. One battle after another looks dreadful. I may watch one battle after another. I still have to watch Megalopolis as punishment for talking about it. I promised JEC I'd watch Megalopolis, but I still can't find a place to watch the damn thing because apparently Francis Ford Coppola, I think, still owns the rights, so it's not streaming anywhere. Not that I think anybody wants to see it. Um, Indie Phantom. The weird thing was I was lying here listening to a YouTube vid and finally saw the notice. Holiday weekend, so I am a little off. Yeah, me too. Me too. I've been off all week. Indie Phantom. I saw it so you didn't have to. Thank you. Yeah, I'm behind on everything. I'm behind on a webcomic factory. If any of my webcomic factory guys are watching, I'm so sorry to be late on that. Behind on the book, which isn't totally my fault. Partly, it's basically the computer's fault. It's my computer and Vig's computer that screwed us up. So we're about a week behind on that. Ugh, just behind. But tonight's the night I catch up. Hopefully. Jesse, Sinners was an interesting movie. It's racist propaganda, but it was decently made movie. Racist propaganda. I mean, I don't know if I'd go that far, but it does have some messages in it. You know, yes, it's all the white guys who are vampires. I think that's the metaphor there, but or at least the white guys start out as vampires, I guess. Yeah, all the white guys are the vampires in the beginning, but then later a bunch of white guys get killed and they're not vampires. I don't know. The whole movie it needed about 30 minutes cut out of it, and I know exactly. Oh man, I could re-edit Sinners. It would be a blast. Indie Phantom. Sinners is inferior to From Dusk Till Dawn. Agreed. I love From Dusk Till Dawn. I think it's great. Indie Phantom. Why does JJ still have a company? Sinners does not deserve original screenplay. It didn't really deserve any kind of nominations in my view. Maybe music. I like the music in Sinners. That was kind of cool. A little different. Not really, but yeah, original screenplay? Nah. But there was nothing else. I mean, out of the movies nominated, I would have given it to it simply because it was the only movie I kind of liked. I mean, what else was there? I don't even think there was anything else nominated I liked or saw. But yeah, JJ is moving to New York. Now, in the old days, it was LA and New York. Those were the two places where production companies held sway. Hollywood was about the movies. New York was more about television, typically. Like Michael J. Fox moved back to New York, and he did Spin City in New York. And there was a certain amount of production in the New York area. Besides the news and late night television, there were some sitcoms and a handful of other shows that shot here. Most of it was in LA, but some of it was in New York. But New York's super expensive too. But I kind of think he doesn't care, because I kind of think he's like a city guy and he wants to live in a city. I think he's moving back to New York at the worst possible time in human history. I think if you think LA's bad, J.J. Abrams, wait till you get to live in Ma'am Danny's New York and pay his taxes. He should come to New Jersey, and I'm not making a joke. They are building a massive facility in Monmouth County. Netflix is in there. Paramount, Skydance, Warner Brothers is in there already. He should absolutely open his offices near there. That would make total sense. He wouldn't have to go to New York. He could live in one of the high-class mini mansions in New Jersey and pay high taxes, but not nearly as high as New York City. But he probably doesn't care. Let's see how much money he has. All right, place your bets on J.J. Abrams. I'm going to say, God, he's got to be worth a bundle. I'm going to say it's got to be in the hundreds of millions. I'm going to say $700 million. $300 million. Okay. I thought it would be more, but that's a pretty good I mean, when you're worth that much, I guess you could live anywhere. Guess you could live anywhere. Um. I lost my place. Jesse, I don't think I've seen From Dusk Till Dawn. I just remembered a clip from YT with that pretty lady. Oh yeah, that's Salma Hayek. She looks great in that. It's worth seeing. I love From Dusk Till Dawn. I read the screenplay before they shot it, years before they shot it. Friend of mine, this was when I was living in LA. Friend of mine said, I got this screenplay I just read. You would love it. And I had read a bunch of screenplays in LA, and I hated every one of them. And I was like, oh, come on. He's like, no, seriously, you would love this one. It's about vampires. And I'm like, okay. And I read it, and I read that whole thing, and I was like, this was in 92. And I forget when they made that movie. And I was like, this is the greatest screenplay I ever read. Why don't they make this? They're never going to make this. And then they did. I remember reading that final scene, and I just thought, oh, they're never going to do that. And they did. Indie Phantom, I did like the river dance and music in Sinners, which was amusing. I just watched a video where tourists show up in Hollywood and are like, where is it? Yeah. Is it behind all these homeless people? Indie Phantom, going to New York City makes no sense. Need to be like Texas or Georgia. JJ is worth 70 mil. JJ can afford to go away now. From Dusk Till Dawn sat around until 96. Yeah, $300 million. I guess it kind of doesn't matter, but like it's still kind of dangerous in New York. I mean, even if you're living in a nice building and you got security, unless you're going to walk around with security guards everywhere you go, which if I was worth $300 million, I probably would have a bodyguard. I probably would. I mean, you got to think you're a danger, of being kidnapped or something. I mean, Savannah Guthrie's mom was kidnapped. So, yeah, I would have a bodyguard if I lived in New York anyway. If I lived out in the sticks, maybe not. Maybe I'd just have a personal assistant with a gun license and maybe some MMA fighting experience. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. He should move to New Jersey because you could just go across the river to New York whenever you want. And you have to have a meeting. And then he would pay slightly fewer taxes. And he'd be near the Monmouth facility, which I think is going to be kicking up in a couple of years. So, Indie Phantom, so all his employees are just moving? Oh, probably not. I bet a bunch of them are screwed. And then the ones that aren't screwed, maybe they move. I mean, maybe some of the bigger guys move, the ones that can afford to move. I don't know. When you think about it, that's a perfect excuse to get the hell out of LA, isn't it? There's a lot of people who move to LA just to get into the movie business, so a lot of them are transplants, so moving makes sense. Maybe a lot of them will move to New Jersey. Because again, it's slightly cheaper here. Not much cheaper. It gets worse every year, but we're slightly cheaper. We're definitely cheaper than New York City, but you'd have to come down here to where I live for it to be significantly cheaper, Jersey-wise. I'll give you an idea how cheap it is here. So maybe we could do a comparison. My girlfriend and I went out tonight, and we just got a cheesesteak to split. But the pizza place had a special for a large pizza for $8.99. It was a pretty good deal around here. So I don't know if that price, where you live sounds similar or sounds cheap or expensive or whatever, but maybe you could use it to gauge. Gas is about $3.99 here. Up in New York, all those prices would be, in New York City, pizza would be easy $20. Gas is probably 5 or 6 at least. So, but yeah, I mean, bad robot moving to New York to me doesn't make any sense unless you have 300 million and you're just not gonna feel it, and you just think to yourself, "Oh, I always wanted to live in New York," and maybe he does. I don't know why. Like, the only reason to go to New York back in the day was because New York had Broadway. It had all this great restaurants and food from all over the world. Because in the rest of the country, we didn't really have that. So when I was growing up in South Jersey, there was no place to get sushi except for one place. And you had to go, you know, kind of far afield to get to it. Or you had to go into Philly. We didn't have really any Korean barbecue places. We had Chinese food and pizza, you know, restaurant-wise. We didn't have any playhouses nearby. You'd have to go to Philly for that. We didn't have any art house movies. You had to go to Philly for that. And we didn't have, you know, Broadway. You had to go to New York. We have Italian restaurants here, but, you know, the really fancy ones are like in New York, and that's the way it was for a long time. Indie Phantom. I spent the summer of 1988 in Westwood, LA, doing a film camp at UCLA, and it was awesome then. It was way too hot for us Canadians in the group. Remember, a couple of guys fainted on the beach. Ha! It was a Canadian company that ran it, but we got to make shorts and met some cool people, like the writers of RoboCop. Oh, cool. Cool. When I was out there, we hung out with the guys who were the crew from Baywatch, and because they were also from the Philly area. So we went to a party, and somebody from back home had mailed them a box of Tasty Cakes. And if you don't know what Tasty Cakes are, they are made in Philadelphia, and they're basically like packaged pastries, like Hostess. But at that time, they were really good. I mean, I used to eat Tasty Cakes all the time. Now they're not as good, in my opinion, but back in the day, like, getting a Tasty Cake was like, oh man, that's a treat. In LA, you couldn't get them. I don't know if you can get them now. So that was like a big deal. And they were, you know, normal guys to us, because everybody out in Southern California is out of their mind. But yeah, moving to New York is expensive now, and all the things I just listed, which were the reasons to move to New York, you can get that anywhere. That's all over South Jersey. I can get sushi. I can get any food I want. I know an Afghani place. I know places. Name a country in the world, and I can find it, their restaurant in South Jersey somewhere, except Mongolian barbecue for some reason. Damn it. Somebody needs to open a Mongolian barbecue near me. Play-wise, Hamilton, New Jersey, which I always talk about, the blueberry capital of the world, it's in the middle of nowhere, has 2 live theaters, a wine bar, restaurants that beat the band, a great nightlife. You don't need to go to New York City anymore. There's no reason to go. Unless you want to go to a specific restaurant or pay $3,000 for 2 people to go to a Broadway play. The Broadway plays, they rerun them in Philly, and they don't cost nearly as much. You know, it's a different cast, but you could still see it. You can see them in Hamilton. They definitely don't cost you nothing. And you can park on the street, go into the theater, and then go to one of our fabulous restaurants in Hamilton. Indie Phantom. We visited a Warner Brothers sound studio, and they showed us the mixing process for the Deadpool. Took us on a road trip to Carmel when Eastwood was still mayor. I bought a t-shirt with Clint holding a Magnum. Cool. It said, "Curb your dog." Ha! So, the things you would, you know, bagel places are big in New York, right? We have them all over South Jersey. I have the greatest bagel place in the world near me. It's called Sharky's Bagels. I can get a bagel that tastes just like French toast. It's amazing. Excuse me. We have Jewish delis here. We have everything. There's no reason to go to New York. None. Unless you just want to pay a bunch of extra money for stuff you can get at home. Indie Phantom. Broadway is crazy costly. Yeah. I went to see the Book of Mormon. Relatives bought us the tickets. They were $500 a piece. They were the cheapest tickets in the theaters. And we were the furthest possible away from the stage and above it. And when I mean above it, we were looking practically straight down on the stage. Indie Phantom, now I want a bagel, Tony. Sorry. But you can get one now. You don't have to go to New York to get great bagels. You can get one anywhere, just about. So why go to New York? Why go all the way to New York, pay an ungodly amount of money to park? Like, literally, it starts if you'd be lucky to find a $50 lot now. You're probably looking at close to $100 to park all day. A hotel's going to cost you hundreds of dollars a night. The meals are going to cost you $100 easy. Even in South Jersey, the prices are getting a little out of control. We went to a restaurant last night, and we were underwhelmed by the portions and the price. It was a nice place, but yeah, I paid like close to $100 for we didn't really get a full blown meal. We just got food and some drinks. It was, and we had been there before and paid less and gotten more. So we're never going back there, I don't think. But now it's just when you could go to Hamilton and get basically anything you want, park on the street for free. You don't have to worry about the crime. Why the hell would you go all the way up to New York City? So if people like me won't make the 90-minute trip to New York City, who's that leave you? Well, it leaves the people who live there. Well, they're all broke, except for guys like J.J. Abrams. So I guess you could build your business on those people, but that's going to continue the downward spiral of the city as Mayor Kami Mandani destroys everything. Not that the restaurants are even going to survive. I mean, I've read article after article about all kinds of places that have long storied histories closing up. Not just in the Mandani's New York, but in New Jersey too. And it's sad. It's sad. So, and it's not just J.J. Abrams who are going to work. He needs people to work, which means where's his crew going to come from? Well, they're not living in New York City, a lot of them. They're going to have to come from Jersey and outlying areas. They're going to have to commute 2 hours. I know people in my neck of the woods that were 90 minutes away from New York City. They commute to New York every single day for work. That's a friggin' commute. 90-minute commute. Brutal, man. Indie Phantom. Tony, you're right. I will just go to Jersey for my bagel. You're right. I would recommend the Kibitz Room, but they closed down. Radin's Deli is pretty good. All right, moving on. Oh, and comic book artist Bill Tucci got his X account hacked for some reason, and so far as I know, they haven't fixed it yet. Over at the Hollywood Reporter. Sorry, oh man, I already ran out of drink. I'm so thirsty. I don't know why. Dan Levy from Son of Eugene says he's considered a Schitt's Creek sequel series before Catherine O'Hara's death. That's a shame. Yeah, too bad. Nah, you can't do it now, really. He's tried to make the leap to the big screen. It hasn't really worked out for him. I don't know what else he could do, quite frankly. Like, his character on Schitt's Creek was okay. He was kind of like, not gay, but a bisexual character or whatever. it kind of like got dropped into the series, complicating the relationships on the show. I just wanted to see Chris Elliott and Eugene Levy, but whatever. It kind of dragged down the show for me, which I slowly got lost interest because it got more into that. Like, Dan Levy to me was the least interesting character on Schitt's Creek. It was all the other characters that were amazing. Let's see. More about the box office, more about Savannah Guthrie coming back to TV. Here we go. Baywatch reboot cast. Meet the new stars. Oh yeah, Livy Dunn. Oh yeah. Indy Phantom never cared about Schitt's Creek. Is he related to Eugene Levy? Yes, he is Eugene Levy's son. So he was, they played father and son in the show, so they were actual father and son. So here's the new lineup. Don't care about Stephen Amell and Baywatch. Here's Shay Mitchell. All right. Do we have a picture of her? No. No, just the face picture. Jessica Belkin. She looks pretty hot in a bikini. I wish they were showing her in a bikini. Looks good. Livy Dunn. Oh, yeah. This is the LSU gymnast who I keep talking about because she had this following of guys who would go to watch gymnastics because she was in them. And she's just a total smoke show and a professional athlete. So she's going to be on the new Baywatch. She's also a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model. Indy Phantom, I am guessing this is Woke Watch. Probably. But at least they're hiring hot girls for it. Brooks Nader, she looks pretty good. She's a little older, though, but it's fine. Okay, and Hassie Harrison, I don't know her. Nadia Gray, she looks pretty cute. Don't care about him. Ashley Moore, don't know her. Got a weird face, though. What the hell's going on with her chin? Looks like they sucked the fat right out of the bottom half of her face. Jesus. Okay, and some other people with no pictures. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Every week you've been showing pictures of Livy Dunn in a bathing suit. Now the one time you have an article, you decide not to show it. Thanks a lot, Hollywood Reporter. Trying to do a show here. I need pictures, damn it. Of girls in bikinis. Oh, here we go. This was a big story this week. So much happened this week, actually. Indy Phantom. I like the swimsuit issue, although not crazy that they went wokery too. Well, they did. They had the trans model, and then they had the fat chick. Now they seem to have gone back to hot chicks. But I don't know. I don't buy a magazine. Who buys magazines? Indy Phantom. I need some boobs. We all need boobs. We all need boobs. Blake Lively vows to never stop fighting as judge dismisses majority of case against Justin Baldoni, including, harassment claims. So, to me, this was at the core of her case. Apparently, there were 13 issues, and 10 of them are out. Indy Phantom. Remember, The Rock did a failed Baywatch. That was a comedy one, I think, right? Vaguely remember that. So, it looks like Blake Lively is losing her lawsuit. Because when the judge dismisses 10 out of 13, I don't know if they're charges or claims or whatever. That seems pretty bad. Indy Phantom, I still have a SI calendar on my wall, but it's from 2024. Is it full of hot chicks or hot guys? Hot guys trying to look like hot chicks. So, Blake Lively apparently doubling down. Still wanna go forward with this. I don't know, man. I think she ought to cut her losses. I really do. Justin Baldoni seems to be on track to beat these charges. If he does, I think Blake Lively is done in Hollywood. Like, done. Indie Phantom. Yes, Smoke Show chick from True Detective was in it. Nice. Um, and, that leaves Ryan Reynolds in kind of a weird position because now when he puts his wife in a movie, it'll be like, well, he's the only one that's going to work with her. I don't know if she'll ever work again, even if she wins. Indie Phantom. Blake Lively is old and over. It's so stupid, too. These two had a hit movie, and then they go into this. And if she doesn't win, if like it all gets dismissed, she's just done. Then I don't think anybody would work with her. Indie Phantom and Zac Efron. So this blew up this week. Kind of amazing. Oh, now this could go either way. Spaceball sequel set spring 2027 release. I would love for this to be good. I have to be honest with you. When Spaceballs came out, I thought it was meh. It was okay. I didn't really watch it when it came into theaters. I didn't care. By that time, I thought Mel was kind of losing it. Eventually, I saw most of the movie. I think I watched it on TV. I watched enough of it that if I watched the movie, I'd be feeling like I watched a movie that I already saw. It's okay. It has a couple funny bits. But it's not, you can't even compare it to Blazing Saddles. Like, there's no comparison. There's, like, none. Zero comparison between Blazing Saddles and Spaceballs. And Mel has so many other movies that are so much better. So much better. This movie, Indie Phantom. Tony, how much will Supergirl open with? I think less than half of Superman. Mel Brooks still kicking. Rick Moranis was funny in Spaceballs. He was. He's the highlight of the movie. That and the comb bit. It was way late for a Star Wars parody. 87. I mean, Return of the Jedi came out in 83. Maybe not that late, but it was pretty good. It was mid. To me, it was mid for a Mel Brooks movie. Like, Blazing Saddles, numero uno for me. And there's so many other movies I'd put ahead of it. I mean, High Anxiety, because I'm a huge Hitchcock fan, is so good. It's so amazing. The History of the World is so great. This is pretty good, I guess. I mean, to me, it's mid for Mel, but that's a pretty high bar. Young Frankenstein would probably be number 2. So classic. But the problem with this sequel is it's not really being written by Mel. Not really. You got guys like Josh Gad, who, I don't know, man. He's just too woke and fat and stupid for me. Indie Phantom. Remember the short film Hardware Wars? Was a great parody of Short. I remember that movie. I used to watch that all the time. I used to find it, I guess, on the internet. I guess I watched it late. No, wait. I think I watched it originally. Did they run that on HBO? Like, wasn't that one of the things that would pop up on HBO back in the day when they sometimes showed short films to sort of like, I think they showed short films to get like, fill in the space between two movies. Like, if one movie wasn't long enough, they'd show short films to catch up to the hour so they could start a movie on the hour. And I think that's where I first saw it. But then later, I think I saw it on YouTube again. That was fun. Indie Phantom. I think Dracula Dead and Loving It was poorly received. Yeah, and To Be or Not to Be didn't do great. But, Mel has so many funny, really genuinely funny movies. I can be pretty forgiving of Spaceballs. I mean, it had John Candy in it. He's good in it, too. But I'm not super hopeful for the sequel because Josh Gad is a major player in the sequel, and I haven't really seen anything funny come out of him. His whole career, I think, was launched because he was like the original Book of Mormon character. Like he was like the first Broadway actor to play the lead in the Book of Mormon, which is an amazingly funny play, but he didn't write it. The South Park guys wrote it. Indie Phantom. Yeah, in Canada, that short ran constantly on our pay TV channels. It was showing between sex comedies I was watching in '83. So they were basically Canadian HBO. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I think that's when I first saw it. And then now, like YouTube, I think you can see it now all over YouTube. So, I don't know, man. I'm going to wait for the reviews on this one. I hope Mel's in it. He certainly should be. But I doubt he's going to have a major, he's up there. I don't know, man. Rick Moranis will be fun to see again. I mean, I'll definitely see it, but I'm really worried it's going to be bad. I really am. I just hope it's kind of at least passable. It's just like we're just not in the era of comedies anymore. Watching Anaconda 2025. My girlfriend loved it. She was laughing. And it was like the third time she watched it. And I was watching it and going, yeah, it was okay. I don't know, maybe it's me. It just wasn't hitting for me. It has some moments, but it feels like it could have been really funny. Like it really needs to go for the jugular, and it just doesn't. Okay, let's just move on. There's really nothing here at the Hollywood Reporter. What are we at? We're at Bounding into Comics. Sony buys Immersive Labs, a UK-based AI startup for 3D technology. Okay. Good. I never heard of these guys, but maybe. Not much else news here. VR platform Rec Room is shutting down after a decade. It's weird. It has 150 million players, and they're shutting it down for some reason. Indie Phantom. I didn't think Anaconda looked good at all. It has two really pretty funny scenes, and then the rest of the movie is like so caught up in the plot and the characters, and I don't really care about the characters all that much. Indie Phantom, surprised it was theatrical. Yeah, like it's supposed to be a meta comedy, but again, Thandie Newton just is so bad in it. I think she drags the whole thing down. All the same headlines. Same headlines. Dan Levy, SNL UK, The Great Awakening, hits with faith-based audiences and history buffs. That is a small group of people, I guess. I mean, did 2 million, but Lisa Kudrow again? Unbelievable. What the hell is it with Lisa Kudrow? Like, she's perfectly fine as Phoebe on Friends, but my God. Did you think, like, that was going to go somewhere? Like, give her a spinoff if you love her so much. The Phoebe show. But my God, man. It just, that they think they could just take her and her audience and plug her in time bandits just infuriates me. Infuriates me. Malcolm in the Middle again. Super Mario again. Well, that should be in. Oh, here we go. Mamma Mia. No, it's not about Mamma Mia. It's about Super Mario again. Indy Phantom. Maybe Thandie aiming for that Razzie. She earned it. I say give it to her. They won't give it to her for that because, you know, the movie didn't do, I don't know, I don't think it made money, but it didn't do terrible. SNL. Apparently, SNL is the most important TV show in the history of show business. Over at Bleeding Fool, Easter recommendations, The Miracle Maker. Looks like a claymation thing. Lenovations Press trolls fans with an AI comics prank. Okay, is this funny? Okay. It revealed an April 1st announcement of its shift to AI-generated comics. Oh, okay. So they made a joke like they were going fully AI, and then it turned out to be a joke. Ha ha ha! Christina Applegate speaks out on her abortion regrets. Sad. I don't know what to tell you. Just sad. I mean, Spawn creator Todd McFarlane launching recurring live series for fans. Live series of what? Reoccurring live series on whatnot.com beginning in April, twice monthly. Live shows will offer a direct look into decades of collectibles, comics, and memorabilia. Pass. Good luck with it, though. Not sure I want to see Todd. Todd was a really nice guy. I interviewed him. Or no, my co-host interviewed him. I had to edit the interview. And it was impossible to edit it because Todd, he's so excited about comics. And I'm not knocking the guy. I like him. But he starts 3 sentences and finishes 2 different ones. And I literally had to edit his sentences together in order to make them make sense in the interview because he was just so scattershot all over the place. Now, partly he was being interviewed while he was signing comic books, but he was really scattered. Like he's one of these guys who's just like, oh yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that, blah, 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 blah. And it was a bit of a nightmare. Tomb Raider filming halts after Sophie Turner injury. I don't know how she got injured because they covered her up. There's no picture of it. So, like, the outfit they have her in the show, you would think it's maybe this outfit, which, you know, she's got a good body. She's worked out. She's got abs. She's got, you know, she's super toned. Great. That's what you're supposed to do for a character like this. Get all, you know, pumped up for an action thing. And they put her in, like, bulletproof vests so she looks, I mean, she doesn't have a huge chest to begin with. In the show, they put, like, a bulletproof vest on her. She has got no chest. She's got all this armor on and all this stuff. You can't see anything. And it's like, what the hell did you hire her for? She could have been as flabby as Amy Schumer in her worst days. And it wouldn't have mattered because you just dressed her like a tank. And it just looks bad. It's like you got a woman with a hot body who toned up specifically for this role, I assume. Got all worked out, got abs. Why wouldn't you show them off? Why wouldn't you put her in a bikini in the trailer for this show? Probably because, what's her name? The chick from Dial of Destiny, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, is producing and writing the damn thing. And it's probably going to be feminist Lara Croft. It's probably going to be a freaking disaster. You know, the first one will get a bunch of viewers, and then everybody will get lectured about feminism, probably, and maybe not the first episode. Maybe they'll be smart enough to hide it for 2 episodes. Then around episode 3, somebody will drop the bomb like, "Oh, get out of my way, woman, woman," and then it'll be like a 40-minute lecture on feminism, and that'll be it. Indie Phantom, did Mario open bigger than the first one? Yes, I think so. Hollywood messes up Tomb Raider. Why let Phoebe ruin everything? Somebody in Hollywood has a hard-on for Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Because keep in mind, this woman went from doing a show, I think on the BBC, called Fleabag, which sounds like a perfectly valid show for her to do. She wrote it and produced it. Great. Like, that show, I didn't see it, but it probably works for her because she created it and writes it and stars in it. Okay. About some single chick living a single chick life or whatever. But then she goes from that, like, oh no, we're going to make her Indiana Jones replacement? She's never been in anything action-oriented. And you're going to do feminist Indiana Jones? What are you, out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? Well, we already went through this, but clearly, yes. Clearly, yes. Someone is out of their mind. Indie Phantom, I do not have a hard-on for her, just saying. And they gave her a contract to develop things for $100 million. I forget how much it was. I think it was 10 or 20 million a year. I think it was 20 million a year for 5 years to develop something. Develop. In other words, write scripts, have meetings about producing a show, perhaps starring in it. Although after Indiana Jones, maybe you don't want her in it. Whatever. What she finally came up with is Tomb Raider. Feminist Tomb Raider. Like, you mean to tell me you need 5 years to come up with, hey, let's just remake Tomb Raider? 5 years? Indie Phantom. That's a good deal. Yeah, no kidding. Let's see her net worth. Probably make me vomit. Phoebe, let me see if I can spell this right. Waller-Bridge. I'm going to guess $100 million. $50 million. So, yeah, taxes. I forgot taxes. So, okay. Somehow she impressed the right people. And they rewarded her handsomely. So, I think it's because Kathleen Kennedy wanted to do feminist everything. Indie Phantom, damn, they got suckered. 45. I think Kathleen Kennedy wanted to do feminist everything. Someone on her staff probably pointed out the Fleabag show. She watched it and loved it and said, get me that woman on the phone. Flew out to Hollywood and said, we want you to do Indiana Jones. We want you to do many things because you have the right politics. You have the right attitude. You have the right message. Women, 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 women. Everything women. And then they just started throwing money at her, thinking like, oh, this will be great. How'd that work out? So now you had to ruin Indiana Jones. And it's the same effing IP, essentially. Indiana Jones and Tomb Raider. So you think, after nearly ruining Indiana Jones, they'd go, well, we shouldn't put her on that kind of show again. Instead, here they are. Here they are doing Lara Croft. You think they'd go, well, let's move her to somewhere where it makes sense, right? Like, let's move her into dramas. She could do a big drama, how hard it is to be a woman. At least it would be aimed at women. At least that would make sense. Give her another IP? Indie Phantom. Tony, I think you're wrong about Kennedy. She seems very level-headed. Yes, I forgot. She's very good. I'm sure she'll be back soon, working at Disney. And Well, she's still at Disney, but now she's not the head of Lucasfilms. But I'm sure she'll be back very soon because, no one exposed her to sunlight yet. Um, it's just breathtaking the kind of decisions they make. Indie Phantom, she should be just she should just be on series. Yeah, she might as well be Lara Croft. Like, why even get Sophie Turner? And it's not like Sophie Turner's career is doing great. What has Sophie Turner done other than Game of Thrones? And really, there was a million people in Game of Thrones, and she was good on Game of Thrones until the later seasons. So she was in the X-Men movies. How'd they do? Indie Phantom. Is Pam Bondi really working at Hooters now? Well, she's not working at the White House. They dumped her. CBCS to cease operations as parent company changes. The comic book certification service. Oh no! How will I know my comic books are valuable now? Okay. Let's move on so we can start talking about Pam Bondi and etc. At the wrap, even they have to talk about Super Mario Galaxy movie. More SNL, of course. The optimism of Project Hail Mary is the antidote for Hollywood's doom loop. Wow, an actual positive article in the wrap. Wow, good for you guys. SNL again. Here, the 7 best new movies on Netflix. This is Netflix. Let's see if these are any good. First up is A Quiet Place, Part 2. Not a huge fan of A Quiet Place, but I didn't see it, so maybe? I mean, I think they're competently directed, so maybe that'd be okay. And for Netflix, a competently directed movie is pretty big. Everest? Nah, I didn't see this one. Didn't hear anything about it. Indie Phantom. I see there is a new Spider-Man and Superman crossover. I like those as a kid. Yeah, they're fun. I think they'll be wholesome, at least. Everest with Jake Gyllenhaal. Atonement. Oh, this movie looked boring as F. 2007. Keira Knightley when she was still pretty hot. Indie Phantom. Didn't see A Quiet Place either. Yeah, it just doesn't interest me. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. I don't know which one that is. There's too many Mission Impossibles. Scream 2022. Dear God, no. American Gangster. That movie's pretty good. Based on a true guy. Denzel Washington is pretty good. He's it's a gangster movie. He's mostly gangster in it. It's a decent performance. It's not 100% the right character for him, though. He's better, I think, in roles where he plays like a hero or a more dignified kind of persona. And really, he's playing a scumbag. And it kind of rubs against his persona, I think. But it's not a bad movie at all. It's pretty good. Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted. Nah, no thanks. So yeah, are these the best movie? Indie Phantom, are these Easter movies? I don't think so. I think these are just new on Netflix, and I mean, they could be the best 7 new movies on Netflix. Netflix, they don't have a lot of good movies. I mean, Anaconda, I think, is one of them. I think that's where I watched Anaconda. Trump's explicit Iran threat on Easter morning blasted from left and right. Completely unhinged. Oh no, I thought it was hilarious. He ain't messing around. Let's see if they have it. Yeah, here it is. I don't care about the article. Here's Trump's tweet. Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the effing straight, you crazy bees, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. Yeah, I mean, come on. Are you supposed to be nice in a war? Look, I'm against the war. I think there had to have been some other mechanism. I don't know. But if he wraps this thing in 2 months, okay. Hard to argue with it. Hard to argue with success. Indie Phantom, awesome Trump. He is awesome, isn't he? He don't give an F. And again, I think part of this is, you know, if the Republicans don't pass the Save America Act, and it's looking more and more like they're trying not to, it could mean this is it for his administration. It's going to be year 1, year 2, and that's it. And then they impeach him. Or they just stymie him for another 2 years. So he's getting it all in the first half. Indie Phantom, F Iran, go hard, Trump. And I don't know what's so hard to understand. Some of these pundits, I think, are being purposely obtuse. I made a response video to Carl Benjamin, who I like, but he didn't mention China once in the entire video when talking about Iran. And Iran sells 90% of its oil right to China. By cutting that off, or basically, you know, making it very difficult for the Chinese to get their oil, if Iran becomes a U.S. ally, number one, they may cut off China continuously. I don't know. Number two, even if they don't cut China off, if they're our ally, that means China has to have good relations with us in order to get their oil. Now, it's not 90% of China's oil, but it's 90% of Iran's oil going to China. And Iran has a lot of oil. So I don't know what percentage of that is the Chinese economy, but that's got to be impacting them bigly. Like, bigly. And the other place they were getting oil from was, drum roll, Venezuela. So now the Chinese are beholden to Russia, where they have to get more oil from. Now that helps the Russians to a certain extent, because now the Russians can sell more oil to China and they can stick it to them, which I'm sure Putin is sticking it to China, because the Chinese stuck it to him when they first set up the pipeline. He flew out to China, and Xi Jinping changed the deal at the last minute and basically forced the Russians into a different kind of deal. I don't know all the details, but I remember Putin cutting his trip short and going back to Russia, and the rumor was that Xi Jinping had screwed him on the oil pipeline. Now now we're gonna charge you whatever, or pay you less, or whatever. So now it's Putin's revenge, right? Like, the Chinese absolutely have to keep the oil flowing from Russia, because that, you know, I'm sure they have some oil of their own, but they have to get some from Russia. They're their only reliable ally. Venezuela, done. There's no oil coming from Venezuela going to China. And the Iranians, look at where they are now. And if Trump bombs the hell out of them, and he bombs all their oil fields, how are they going to get any oil? This is why Trump's calling the other nations in the world to protect the Strait of Hormuz, or sign a deal to protect it. Now, I wouldn't want the Chinese protecting it. But according to Trump, we don't need any of the oil coming out of that strait anyway, but I still wouldn't want the Chinese to protect it. I'd want the Europeans, maybe, to do the job and eat up all that cost so we don't have to. I think this is part of a power play to get us out of the Middle East and to put China back on its heels, because they cannot invade Taiwan if we could turn to the Iranians and say, oh, cut them off. They'll be screwed. They'll still be able to get some oil from Russia, but they're not going to get much. Right? They won't be able to get enough. They'll probably get enough to, like, keep the lights on, but, you know, you got to imagine that that's a chunk of the percentage of the oil coming into their country. So imagine what that does to oil prices if you cut off, say, 30%. I mean, you can see what it's doing to our oil. Our gas prices are up. They're not catastrophically up, but they're up. Indie Phantom, man, UK has fallen. Yeah, it's bad. So that Carl didn't mention China in his whole video, I feel like he's either ignoring it on purpose to make a point about Trump attacking Iran, or I don't know. I don't think he can be that obtuse that he doesn't understand that the Iranian-Chinese alliance is probably more important to China than it is to, well, it was important to both of them. And if we come out of this war with a stable Iranian government that's beholden to the United States, the Chinese are going to be beholden to us, at least for the foreseeable future. So that would be a very good thing against China. We could exert all kinds of pressure on them. And who knows? Who knows what Trump will do? Indie Phantom. I do like Carl. I haven't watched him in a few months. You know, unfortunately, things are so bad in the UK. I watch him and Paul Joseph Watson, and I watch the Lotus Eaters on occasion. But they're all consumed by the immigration issue in the UK. Almost every video has some tie-in to immigration, or it's some tie-in to another atrocity that has happened in the UK. I mean, it's that bad. Video after video after video. You know, sometimes Carl tries to keep a stiff upper lip and, you know, a positive view on things, and I appreciate that. But it's hard to not notice how almost every video now it ties back to immigration or how bad Keir Starmer has betrayed them. And it's a shame. I mean, the upside is they do have a candidate who's poised to go in there and turn things around. So that's good. But it's going to take a few years. I mean, it's going to be a while. Paul Joseph Watson, man, he just goes at it. But, man, there's just so many videos of how bad immigration is and the impact that it's having on the UK. And it's bad. And I see a few things like that in the United States. Not as many. The Muslims are going pretty hard in Texas, but they just got slapped down by a judge. They were going to build some giant mosque and some giant Muslim city, and now the judge said, nah, you can't just build a Muslim city in the middle of Texas, basically. But meanwhile, Paterson, New Jersey's, they had to strike down a measure, and it barely got struck down, that they were going to start doing the Muslim prayer siren in Paterson, New Jersey, because there's so many Muslims there now, which is a little scary. But so far, I haven't heard a tremendous amount of incidences coming out of there. But we'll see. I've heard more negative stories in Texas about what's been going on there with some of the Muslim groups than I have in New Jersey. But we'll see. I do think, though, the immigration situation is crucial to both them and us. Here, it's being ameliorated to a degree. Over there, nothing has changed. Very little. I mean, they're sort of teeing up to stop it, but meanwhile, like people are just pouring in. Indie Phantom. Speaking of the UK, not hearing much about Bond 26 lately. Not sure if I have hope for it. To be honest, will address their Muslim issues. Will it address their Muslim issues? No. About the only thing they're considering is Riz Ahmed as James Bond. And he is... Where's he from? Is he Indian? Or no, he's Pakistani. I don't know if he's Muslim. I don't think he is, but he might be. I thought he was Indian, but he's Pakistani. And he's in a movie about himself being up for the role of James Bond and the controversy that surrounds it. He's apparently a serious actor. He was also just in King Lear, I think, in the lead. And it was just like an all Pakistani King Lear, which I'm fine with. I mean, it's Shakespeare's classic, but I don't know why they're doing this drama about him maybe being James Bond. I think it may be it's sort of a trial balloon to see if, could we recast James Bond as a person who's from another country? Indie Phantom, oh no, had not heard that rumor. I don't know. Ameliorated is too big a word for me this late, Tony. Sorry. You know, as far as James Bond goes, they killed him off in the last movie. They need to come back, super based Bond like in the old days. I don't think there's any indication that's going to happen. The best I think you could hope for is they try to thread the needle and they say, well, we went a little too far and we killed off Bond and we made him woke. We won't make him as woke, or we'll make it like, quietly. We'll put all the woke stuff in the background so hopefully people don't notice. These guys don't have that kind of skill. Their talent is already their brains are already so cooked. Putting the wokeness in the background just means, we'll only have 3 non-binary characters in it. Like, that's how cooked their brains are, I think. And some of them just don't care. I mean, that story about, I don't know if you were on the stream when I was talking about it, Dungeon Crawler Carl's creator, he's throwing Critical Drinker wrote a Dungeon Carl story, and now they're making it into a TV show, and he threw the Critical Drinker basically under the bus, saying, I should have never worked with that guy or whatever. And so they're calling it like, oh my God, he's purging the right-wing incels or whatever from his, I don't know, his creation or whatever. I don't know what he's doing, but the idea is he's only doing that because now he's piped into Hollywood, and Hollywood is telling him, you gotta denounce this guy, or we can't have Dungeon Crawler Carl TV show, which is completely unnecessary and stupid, right? I mean, now you've turned the internet against you on a IP that came up on the internet and is only popular because of the support on the internet. And so you're basically kicking most of the fans in the balls and saying, screw you, we're going to make this woke. So I'm not even going to, I was looking forward kind of to Dungeon Crawler Carl because I kept hearing about it. Now I'm like, oh yeah, that's a show that sounds like it's going woke. So I have no interest in it. Zero. So yeah, I don't have much hope for Bond being good. I think the new Bond will probably be stupid. Or probably be boring, which will be even worse. Indie Phantom. I like Critical Drinker, except when he does the fake drunk vids. Gets on my nerves, so just watch the live panels. I'm kind of the opposite. I tend to like his drunken rants. But, yeah, they get a little old after a while. The live panels are okay. I don't mind them. They just tend to go on and on and on and on. Like me. That's why I only do mine once a week. Because if I did them every day, I think I'd lose my damn mind. Cosmic book news. But then again, if I made more money on them, I guess I'd have more fodder? I don't know. Cosmic book news. Let's see. Mass Effect TV show reportedly ordered to rewrite scripts for non-gamers. That's a bad sign. But I didn't think the show was going to be good either. I mean, the second game's amazing. The first game's pretty good. And then the third game, to me, is just confusing and bad. Buffalo Bandits smash Vancouver on Marvel Night, cinch playoff spots. I don't know what Marvel Night is. Guess that's a night where they hand out comic books? I don't know. Daredevil Born Again Season 3 confirms return of Luke Cage and Iron Fist. Well, that could kind of be cool, but I hear Iron Fist is like unwatchable, but I was a big fan of Power Man and Iron Fist. So I don't know. I did like Luke Cage. I did like the Luke Cage series. I thought it was good. So I don't know. Indie Phantom. Good bet that Bond will be boring because that is Villeneuve's jam. I know. I like Sicario, but fell asleep trying to get through Blade Runner 2049. That movie is an abomination. I hate that movie. RoboCop series at Amazon finally moving forward with series order. I don't know if that's good either. Hold on, I need a little break. I gotta take a whiz. So Joan, do your thing, little Joan. I'm also gonna get another drink. Oh man, I'm so parched. I'll be right back. Oh my God, sorry about that. Had to get another drink. And had to pee. I don't know how Asmongold does it. Does he have a catheter under his table? All right. Indie Phantom, is Free Comic Day still a thing? The books became so lean. Yeah, it is. I used to go to it all the time. I used to be a guest at that. The comic book stores here just keep closing up. I don't know how they stay open. Will the new RoboCop series tackle Detroit homeless issues, says Indie Phantom. I sincerely doubt it. I wonder where they will film that. I have a black coffee going. Oh, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. I went to brunch, Easter brunch with the family and my girlfriend, and they had the best iced tea where we went. Oh, it was so good. It was brewed, had so much lemon. Zack Snyder continues DCEU post with Superman Easter tribute. There's rumors that he's coming back. Like, fairly serious rumors that Zack Snyder may return to the DC EU or DCU or whatever they're going to call it. I think it would be the dumbest move yet from Hollywood to go back to Zack Snyder. Like, I can understand dumping James Gunn. I really can. I think he's an insufferable idiot now. I defended him because he wrote a couple of decent movies, and now suddenly he can't stop doing politics. Like, I was surprised when he got rehabilitated that he didn't immediately do that. Like, I thought, oh, here's a guy who got canceled and he's come back and they're not making him do a humiliation ritual. Now it's like he can't stop putting his politics in things. Like, if that was him all along, why didn't he just come right back and start doing political things? Why do a couple of good movies and then say, oh, you know what? Now it's time to hate Trump. It's like, does it just happen? Is it just that you hang out with people in Southern California long enough and you start going, yeah, I hate Trump too? Jesus. Indie Phantom, I made brunch yesterday and today omelets, sausages, and hash brown. Oh, that sounds good. They had a full breakfast for the brunch, but they had all this other food, and I'm not a breakfast guy per se. But once in a while, I like to have a real luxurious breakfast, but they had way too many other amazing foods there. So I was going for the raw bar with the shrimp and the ceviche and the oysters. Oh, it was great. Indie Phantom, dump Gunn on his bloody arse fast. I wouldn't let him go back to trauma. I wouldn't let him go back to trauma at this point. I was happy when he was briefly fired from Disney. Yeah, like, I guess the problem for them is, who do we replace him with? And now there's rumors he's going back to Marvel. Like, they're going to replace Kevin Feige with James Gunn? Which, I would have said in the past would be an improvement, but now, I don't know. There's got to be a guy you could get. I mean, even the guy who, what's his face? The guy from Weapons. I mean, he's not really a superhero guy, but I think he understands, like, the basics, of character development. Even if I don't really like his movies all that much, but Indie Phantom, I am like Dexter, a breakfast connoisseur. Can't spell the word right now. You're like, what's the name? Nick Offerman in Parks and Rec. He was a big breakfast guy, too. There's that famous scene in one of the episodes where he goes into the diner and he says to the waiter, bring me all the eggs and bacon. And he goes, okay, son, I want you to understand what I just said to you. I said, bring me all the eggs and bacon. Indie Phantom. The Weapons guy directed a fun sex comedy called Miss March. I did not know that. Maybe it'd be pretty good for the superheroes. I mean, he seems to understand how to create a universe. It's good. Maybe I'll check it out. I could see, if you said to him, do a superhero thing, that I think he could handle it. Even though, again, I don't really agree with all his choices in Weapons and Barbarian. Like, they're pretty good up to a point, and then at some point I go, nah, you lost me. But that would be an improvement. The guys who did the Spider-Man movies would be great. Those guys are doing well, seemingly. Although I kind of can't figure Sony out because Sony seems to do okay with Spider-Man and hasn't ruined Spider-Man yet, but anything else they touch is an absolute disaster. I mean, so I mean, even if they got, I don't know if the charges against him are true, but even if you got Bryan Singer back, he did pretty good with the X-Men. Indie Phantom, problem is, I like the unhealthiest breakfast. Hold on. Getting a text from my girlfriend. All right. Good night, baby. Indie Phantom. I only watched Homecoming and didn't bother with the sequels. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're the one with Jake Gyllenhaal is pretty good. I'm a big fan of Mysterio in the comics, and that's the first time they ever did him, and it actually kind of worked. Matt Reeves, Batman universe canceled, directing new project instead of Batman 3. Here we go. GF texting during stream. This is outrageous. I'm very sorry. Won't happen again. She's going to sleep. She's going to sleep. So that would be a tragedy. It's such a, I don't know. I think Robert Pattinson is pretty good Batman, and Matt Reeves' take on him was pretty damn good. I like the take better than him specifically. I think really any actor who was in shape and could fight a little bit, could be in the role, but it seems like Pattinson did a good job, and they could move forward with this and crush it. I mean, so now they're taking him off. This is like Bryan Singer on the X-Men. He had a hit with number 1, and then apparently a new studio exec came in, and he wanted to get Singer off in number 2 to kill the franchise. He tried. He cut the budget. It didn't work. He made the movie anyway. It was another hit. Finally got him off of 3, and then the whole thing. So is this a similar situation? I would hate to say it. I really would. You finally got Batman doing detective stuff. Finally. We waited so long for this. Indie Phantom. Mysterio is cool. He's like a stuntman or something. Yeah, or like a magician. I am working out some. Should be in shape by Christmas. Good for you. I need to work out. Or just stop falling down. I had a spill. I had a spill on Saturday. No, that was Friday. And banged myself up a little bit. See, I still got a thing there. And when did I fall? And I fell another time too. Yeah, I was at One More Bar and Grill at one of the events, and I was packing up to leave, and I tripped. Both times I was rushing. So I just got to take it slow when I'm loading my car. But usually, you know what it is? I'm hungry and I'm not thinking straight. So let's see if we got anything else here. Oh, here we go. Supergirl. You mentioned Supergirl earlier, and I meant to go back to it, and I forgot. Supergirl BTS featurette released with James Gunn and Millie Alcock. Indie Phantom. Yeah, I had dizzy spells a few years ago, and it was blood pressure. Oh my God. No, I wasn't dizzy. I just tripped because I'm clumsy and rushing. Supergirl poll sparks concern over fan interest. So, Comics Explain had a poll of 32,000 votes on X. 11% said they would see Supergirl on opening day. 26% said opening weekend. 40% said they would wait for streaming. And 24% said they had no interest at all in watching it. So, that's not great. Indie Phantom, she looks better with the shades. She does. So, no, I don't think Supergirl's going to do very good. I would say, yeah, you're about right. I think you said it'll do about half as Superman. Yeah, I think they'll be lucky to do half as Superman. Supergirl is not a second tier character, but really a third tier character. Indie Phantom, I really think Supergirl would be the straw that busts Gunn's balls. I think they already know that. I mean, I think they're crunching the numbers, and they have some fairly decent metrics on this kind of stuff. They're doing the focus groups, and the focus groups aren't responding. So that's the problem. They had the rumor is they had 8 different cuts of this movie, and none of them are particularly popular. But this is not a way to make a movie. Now, Gunn has a vision. And while I don't have any confidence in his visions anymore, I respect that he had one. So his vision is basically Guardians of the Galaxy with Supergirl. But another part of that is she's a darker character because she was there for when Krypton blew up, but she narrowly escaped, unlike Clark, who was a baby when he got sent away. So Clark doesn't remember the trauma, but she does. Indie Phantom, think less than half of Superman overall. Probably. Now this director I like better than Gunn because Tonya is a pretty funny flick, but this is really just a Gunn movie. Yeah, that's the problem with it. The Guardians of the Galaxy, the first movie, I really enjoyed. But you can't just keep doing it. At some point, and it was fine to keep doing it for Guardians of the Galaxy. I wish they had done that in the second Guardians of the Galaxy. But that one was so bad, I didn't even watch the third one. I hear it's more of a return to form, but I didn't even bother to watch it yet. I mean, maybe it'll come across my desk at some point and I'll watch it. I watched the Christmas special. That was fun. But, you can't make the Supergirl movie, Guardians of the Galaxy. It's not the same character. But the problem is the character. And while I appreciate he's trying to give her a take that's a little more fleshed out than the comics, it's not good to make that take one he already did. If he had gone in a different direction and stayed away from Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe. Superman's about truth, and she's more about justice. So she does things Superman won't do. Again, it's a take, but, for what little people know about Supergirl, I don't think it's a take that's going to work. Because you're making the Supergirl like tough girl. And that just never works. Indie Phantom, these movies are quite rushed, I feel. They're rushed because they're constantly re-editing them. Think about that they made 8 different versions of this movie just to show it to focus groups. Now imagine you saw all 8 of those movies. Indie Phantom, not 1 or 2 per year. If you saw all 8 of those cuts, would you even remember which ones were which? No. They'd all be in your head, all the scenes, and you'd be like, That's too much. There is such a thing as overdeveloping something. You know, I wrote a screenplay and I had years ago. This was the one screenplay I had trouble with, and I abandoned it, and it'll never see the light of day. And I forced myself to finish it, but during the process, I made the mistake of going back and writing alternate versions, and it got to the point where I couldn't remember which scenes I put in which versions and which ones worked and which ones didn't. At that point, you just gotta put the thing aside and get it completely out of your head and start over, essentially, mentally, and then, figure out what works. But you can't do that on a deadline with 8 different versions. Now you're going to rely on the audience to pick the version that's good? That's your job. It's your job to entertain them. If you can't figure out with 8 different versions what's good in a movie, don't make movies. I can figure it out. I can tell you exactly what's wrong with this movie. The first thing that's wrong is you had Crypto piss on Superman's picture. That was out of line. Stupid and out of line. The second thing that's wrong is you have Supergirl drinking. Supergirl doesn't drink. It's stupid. Again, completely out of line. And if you wanted Supergirl to drink, the idea like, oh, she has to go to a distant planet in order not to have enough powers so she can get drunk. Listen, all you had to do was come up with a special alcohol that she could drink on Earth. That's all you had to do. And then she could have gotten drunk on Earth. And it probably would have been a much more relatable movie. Right? So it could have been like a female version of Hancock. You could have gone all the way with the concept and said, okay, who is Supergirl? Supergirl is Superman's drunken cousin who doesn't want to be a superhero. And she's a drunk. And wherever she goes, problems follow. And eventually, she's a drunk somewhere out in Kansas or, I don't know, somewhere out in the Midwest. And some supervillain, she stumbles upon some supervillain. And she has to fight him and find her heroicness and give up drinking. Something like that. You could have done that. It would have been a lot easier because it would all take place on Earth. You could have ditched all the alien crap. She wouldn't have been a girl boss, right? She would have been a messed up character. Indie Phantom, are people really connecting the dots between these DC movies? I mean, the average Joe. Sounds like a porn parody. Super getting wasted and effing dudes to death. No, you can't put sex in it because it's Supergirl. But you could have the whole bit where, like, she's traumatized by, Krypton blowing up and all her friends dying, so she just drinks and drinks and drinks. Or you could just say, well, she can't get drunk on, like, 1 bottle of whiskey. She's got to drink, like, 100. So, she keeps going to places and, like, drinking all the whiskey. Something like that. If you really want to go with this drunken superhero thing. Or, here's a thought. You could just make her Supergirl. Like, Supergirl's a female version of Superman. Then you could do all the girly stuff. Like, imagine a girl with superpowers and all the girly superpower things she could do, right? So, why not girl it up? Like, have her, like, decorate things that only Supergirl could decorate. Like, I don't know, the Manhattan skyline. She starts redecorating and moving stuff around that only Supergirl could move. And people are kind of mad at her, but they kind of like it at the same time. Or, just make her nice. Nice and funny. But instead, they're going with this to try to make her cool. Supergirl's not cool. Hate to tell you. Indie Phantom, is Supergirl really popular comic? I don't remember seeing it much. No. She's 3rd tier. I started to explain that and I got distracted. So, 1st tier in DC Comics is Superman and Batman. Maybe this was a guest in a few I read. Yeah. So first tier is Superman, Batman. You might include Wonder Woman and characters like Lobo, but really they're more second tier. Second tier, you got pretty much all the big names: Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Lobo. Maybe it include Aquaman on a good series. Characters like that. Characters you at least know. And characters that at least sustain their own comics. Third tier, maybe even fourth tier, is characters you've almost never heard of or can't keep their own comic. And Supergirl is a prime example of a character that didn't have her own comic except in the 50s, back when Superman was so popular. They said, we need to bring in the girl readers. So they created Supergirl. But even back then, the comic didn't have a long run. She'd show up, they'd do a run, and then eventually they'd cancel the comic because it wasn't popular enough. So in the 80s, when they did Crisis on Infinite Earths, which was the reset of DC Comics, and it was the big crossover, it was very popular at the time, and it changed comics. The character that died in DC was Supergirl. Why did they kill her? Because she wasn't popular. Power Girl, who's another Superman related, she's like Superman adjunct character. She's more popular than Supergirl. Power Girl's more popular. And you probably don't even know who that is. And the only reason she's more popular is she's got a real low-cut superhero outfit and like a giant set of cans. Supergirl was always like too young to kind of ogle in the comics, the way they drew her. Kinda. I mean, she wasn't like a girl, like a preteen or anything, but like that wasn't her character. Like Power Girl would show up and it'd be like, holy cow, look at her. But like Supergirl was more petite. The only time I think they had a good characterization of her was maybe when DC was still doing, remember they did the Batman animated series, they did a Superman animated series, and then sometime around then they did Supergirl in that series. She had a few episodes, and then I think they did the Justice League, and I think she was in and out of that. They had a pretty good take on her, but like it's not that interesting. She was just like a college girl who had superpowers. She was like Batgirl. Like Supergirl is the Superman what Batgirl is the Batman. They're just female versions of the same characters, and they're not that popular. Indie Phantom, wouldn't dudes be looking up Supergirl's skirt? I saw a pics of Power Girl. Quite sexy. Yeah. So, Indie Phantom, the CW Supergirl had the right look. Very sweet. Yeah, like you could almost do a comedy, right? Where Supergirl is so sweet and wholesome, but the villains she fights are effing evil. And they're trying to kill her. But like she's Supergirl and she's indestructible. So they're doing all this stuff to kill her. And she's just like, no, don't do that. And they try to kill her and like it doesn't work, and she like throws them in jail. It could be kind of fun, as opposed to this, which is all like about a character arc, like about a sad drunk girl. I don't want to see sad drunk girl Supergirl. I really don't. And if you're going to have an adult hot chick play Supergirl, get the hottest chick you can possibly imagine. And, because at least a lot of guys will be like, oh, there's a hot girl in this. Indie Phantom, I think the 84 Supergirl wound up being a comedy. Yeah, but it wasn't like, I mean, again, if you're going to go for this kind of thing, then go all the way. Go like full-blown comedy. Like make this thing an absolute farce. But then you don't want to do Supergirl second. Like, you don't want to go from Superman to a farce, because you're trying to get people to take Superman a little seriously. What you want to do is do Superman first, and then after that, you have to do some other character. Like, maybe you could have done, I mean, Mr. Terrific was pretty good in the film. You could have maybe done a Mr. Terrific movie. You probably could have gone to a Guy Gardner movie, because you had Nathan Fillion. But Indie Phantom, yeah, needed a hotter chick. Alcock has a good physique, but not cute enough. Yeah, I think that's why they're putting her in glasses, because I think that helps hide her face. It's her eyes that are ruining it. She's got weird lines in her face. So, I think this is a poor choice of characterization. Like, it would have been different if this movie came out, like, you established Superman, you established Batman, you established the Green Lantern Corps, you established, I don't know, Hawkman, and you established Green Arrow, and you establish all these characters, and they're all in their own, and Mr. Terrific, and all in their own serious movies, or semi-serious for superhero. And then you do Supergirl. Like, you've mentioned her, she's come in and out, but now she gets her own movie because the other ones are so popular. She's been mentioned a bunch of times, and now here's a Supergirl movie. It's going to be fun, it's going to be different, because, you know, it's gotten too serious. That's when you put out a movie like this, or one that I outline. Indie Phantom, she has an odd look. I never heard of Mr. Terrific before last summer. Yeah, he's a real old character they dug up specifically for the movie, mostly so they could race swap him, and which was fine because nobody remembers Mr. Terrific. The character they've never done, which is, well, they have done it as a cartoon, but never as a movie, which would be, people have asked for it a bunch of times in the comic world, is Plastic Man. Plastic Man, you know, a Jim Carrey Plastic Man, I mean, Jim Carrey at his peak would have been ideal, but he might be even able to pull it off now, but Plastic Man would have been hilarious. But again, that should probably be a later movie when you could do, you know, a less serious superhero movie. But you got to establish the universe and the heroes first before you start screwing around with the dynamic, in my opinion. So, yeah, I don't think this is going to do well. And Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord Season 2 announced before season premiere. So this has already been renewed, and no one's seen the first episode. Now, that being said, it doesn't look like the worst Star Wars series I've ever seen, but they haven't had much luck with these series. Why would you greenlight this already? I think it's animated, so maybe that's why. Indie Phantom, yeah, not a good sign when you try to hide her face. Didn't that chick from Wicked freak out over those fan-made posters that covered her? I don't know, did she? Plastic Man, loved that cartoon as a kid. It was a Saturday morning staple. Yeah, I think you could do a, you know, people have been waiting for a Plastic Man movie for a long time. But I think you need to do that. You know, you need to establish a bunch of things in the DC universe before you do Plastic Man. But that being said, it would be huge. Indie Phantom, I think SW should avoid the dark side for a while. When I say dark, I mean serious enough to take the plot seriously, you know? Oh, you mean Star Wars, sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I just have no interest in this character. The amazing part about this character is I think it's been survived and propped up basically because of his design. I think you should be giving whoever designed Darth Maul deserves a check every time this character shows up. And I hope he's getting it because he deserves it. The only reason I think the fans like this character is because he looks crazy. He looks like a crazy alien. And I think they just love the look of him. The character himself, I've never seen him do anything interesting. Not in the prequels, anyway. He just gets cut in half. They've put him in his cameos and a few other things. He didn't really do much in those either. But fans can't get enough of this dude. He's kind of like their new Boba Fett back when Boba Fett was mysterious and you didn't see him enough. Indie Phantom, is Plastic Man legit DC comic? Guess he is their Mr. Fantastic. I think he was a different comic book company that got bought by DC like way back in the 50s. But yes, I believe so. And then there's another character in the DC universe who's a more serious version of Plastic Man or Mr. Fantastic. But Plastic Man is not Mr. Fantastic. I mean, he has those powers, but he has similar powers, I should say, because Plastic Man can actually turn himself into like a car and a boat that has, mechanisms inside him, and like Mr. Fantastic can't do that. Mr. Fantastic can only stretch. He can't turn in the shapes, really. Indie Phantom, is Plastic Man... Oh, I read that one. Maul was briefly in Solo for some reason. Yes, that was the movie I remember him from. He just shows up there and everybody applauds, and I'm like, what are you applauding? What are you applauding? He does nothing but die. But they were like, oh my God, I recognize him. That Park Place. Guests removed monorail windows while broken down in Walt Disney World during Easter weekend. Sounds like a fun time. Jeez. Oh, I'm feeling very greasy tonight. Imagine paying all that money and then you're stuck on the monorail. Ugh. Tim Pool, remember him? Rejects Animal Farm promotion over film's pro-communism messaging. Well, good for him. I would reject that too. I mean, the insane vision of Animal Farm, the movie by Andy Serkis, is an embarrassment to cinema. You should stop, Andy. Indie Phantom. Tony, what would you consider the best DC movie apart from maybe Superman with Reeve? I think it's Batman 89 for me. The best DC movie. I really like, Christian Bale versus Heath Ledger. That came out great. Indie Phantom, I reject Tim Pool's beanie. And I really like the Robert Pattinson Reeves movie. I mean, that take on the Riddler is just awesome. Indie Phantom, non-animated, of course. I was on. I think I was with you on that. Might be the first Joker movie. I mean, that movie's really good. It's so good. It captures the 70s. Although I should say it's not really the comic, but it does do a good job of portraying the Joker as crazy as F. I don't know, man. I kind of don't like 89 Batman because I love Michael Keaton and I think he's a pretty good Bruce Wayne, but I don't think he's a great Batman. But part of it's not his fault. Part of it was, he didn't really get into super good shape for it. He just kind of did it. And they gave him that stupid cowl that, wouldn't let him turn his head, which was just dumb. And part of it's just Burton was the wrong guy. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I haven't seen the first Wonder Woman movie. I hear that was good. Indie Phantom, the Batman was good. It was a bit too long. I didn't mind it because the length on that one, a lot of it was just about, they just kept going through different Batman gadgets at some point during that last fight sequence. He's pulling out every stop in the book. When he pulls out the venom and injects himself, I'm like, yeah, let's go. I didn't like the Catwoman too much. I didn't like Zoe, what's her face, as Catwoman though. I did like the Anne Hathaway Catwoman. She was good. So I don't know. Indie Phantom. I like Joker, except on rewatch it didn't hold up. Or maybe I knew Filet et Deux was in the mix. I didn't see Wonder Woman. Yeah, I hear it's pretty good, the first one. The second one, I've seen clips of it, and it looks unbelievably bad. So, I don't know. Maybe it's not as good as people say. If I had to choose, gun to my head, I would have to say the Batman right now is my favorite. Yeah, I really like that. Although the second Nolan Batman movie with Heath Ledger's a close second. I mean, Heath Ledger's really good too. Indie Phantom, yeah, Hathaway is hot as Catwoman. She really surprised me in that movie because I didn't like Hathaway in anything she was in, but she's good in that. All right, let's see what else we got here. Ooh, I'm already at the 3-hour mark. I got to get going. Geeks and Gamers. Nothing else here. Breitbart. Easter Miracle. Trump praises rescue of second F-15 airmen from Iran. Rescuers as cool as anyone can be. Indie Phantom. Batman Returns is overrated. The thing I really liked, too, was that the Joker lives at the end. And I was really looking forward to... I was hoping that Nolan would have had a final movie in which the Joker came back or escaped Gotham. I was really hoping he'd do Nightfall or a version of it. Where, like, you know, they open up Arkham, or Bane opens up Arkham, and Batman has to run the gauntlet, and then he has to fight Bane. But it didn't work. In case you didn't hear, the daughter and niece of Soleimani was booted from the U.S., which I find hilarious because the niece is some sort of hot influencer who called America the Great Satan and supported the Iranian regime while she lived in America and strutted around half naked. And now they're deporting her. So good luck back in your home country explaining how you dress like that. Indie Phantom Returns was Burton. Oh, okay. Yeah, is that the one? Michelle Pfeiffer's pretty good, I gotta say. I do like that. I do like when he pushed her out a window. Indie Phantom, I prefer those for some reason. Top Republicans rally around POTUS, question feckless NATO allies. Yeah, you got to rally around the Save America Act, you morons. So a bunch of celebrations of Easter. ICE ramps up worksite visits to deport migrants. Good. 12-year-old girl rescues 2 brothers from house fire. Wow. Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn criticize military action in Iran. Okay. Returns had Walken and Danny DeVito too. I liked Walken in that movie a lot, but Danny DeVito's, I didn't like his Penguin. Thought it was too gross and stupid. Let's see. Let's go to entertainment. While America added 178,000 jobs, Hollywood lost jobs. Indie Phantom, ice, ice, baby. Isn't that amazing? The country added jobs, but Hollywood still managed to lose them. Hollywood will soon resemble Detroit after auto industry's decline. Nightmare scenario is playing out, according to the Wall Street Journal. Maybe. It could be. Indie Phantom, DeVito was creepy. Yeah, I didn't want to see that from the Penguin. Like, there are a couple of, Rogues Gallery guys that'd be, great as creepy, but I wouldn't have picked the Penguin. Indie Phantom, poor broke Hollywoke. But they're not broke. They have tons of money. The problem is the state. The state is destroying Hollywood, in my opinion. The taxes are insanely high, and it's long overdue that they just pull up stakes and leave. And once they do that, good luck getting them back, Newsom. I think a lot of institutional momentum keeps them in Hollywood, and the fact that, a lot of people just from the industry live there now. That's where they built their lives. They don't want to pick up and start over somewhere else. Newsom does bend over backwards to help them, but they absolutely refuse to give the Republicans a chance to at least clean up the state. See, the normal pattern back in the day was once in a while, even in a blue state, and we've done this in New Jersey, you elect a Republican. And during that time, the Republican does a bunch of stuff to clean up the state. But eventually, what happens is things start working again. And the moment things start working again, and that same Republican does something like, in the case of Chris Christie, who was fat and corrupt and I hated him, but Chris Christie decided, let me tackle the teachers' unions. Let me tackle the garbage and the snowplow union guys. And he went at them a little bit, and they went at him hard. The unions here are very powerful. So, at that point, what happens? The unions turn around and they say, screw these guys. We got to get the word out and start spending money to get the Democrats back in. Because the Democrats are on our side. And then the Democrats get back in. And they immediately go back to taxing the hell out of people and making up a bunch of rules that make no sense. And eventually they go too far, and then you get the Republicans back. And that's how the pendulum goes in New Jersey, back and forth. And it did, to some extent, in California. But at some point, the Democrats went too far. They actually took over the entire state. They have a veto-proof majority. So even if you got the most based Republican governor in history in California right now, they would just veto everything he tried to pass. Like, if he vetoed something, the legislature would turn around and go, no, that's the state law now. We're going to pass it. And they would get even worse, because guess what? They could blame it all on the governor. Even though they passed the law, they could say, that's the governor's fault. He passed this law, I guess. So they could pass their most crazy laws if you got a Republican governor anyway. What should happen is a bunch of people in California should go, I'm so sick of these Democrats, and they elect Republicans to clean things up. But it hasn't happened in years, so thus you got a really effed up city. And instead, the Republicans all are leaving, which means it's even less likely to change. I mean, we're headed for a collapse, I think, in some of these states. Not in California anytime soon, but I think you're heading for a collapse in Washington state. They passed a tax on millionaires, and already a bunch of millionaires are leaving the state, including Starbucks. The guy who co-created Starbucks, I think, or he's the CEO, I don't know. He's leaving. Starbucks is leaving. So, yeah. That was a staple of the Northwest. And now they're moving their headquarters out of the state because They don't want to pay those taxes. I don't blame them. What I do blame them for is supporting the idiots who are in there now, because they did support these people. Everybody in Hollywood supported Newsom. In fact, not only did they support Newsom, there was a measure on the ballot to recall him. They got enough signatures, and these idiots did everything they could to make sure he'd stay in power. How stupid is that? All they had to do was go, well, we're not going to help him this time. We can't help you because you got to go. That's what they should have done. And then you would have had a Republican governor in there for a short time, and probably the next election would have went right back to Democrat, but like a slightly more sane Democrat. Nope. Now, the whole state's falling apart. Newsom doesn't care. He's running for president. Indy Phantom, 2 Starbucks in my area closed. I think a lot of them are closing because Starbucks is kind of expensive now. The brand's still worth something. I think people still like the coffee brands. But there's a bunch of rivals opening up. We have a place opening up here. It's a chain called I think it's called 7 Mile Brew or 7 Brew Coffee or something. They're opening 2 or 3 locations in New Jersey, I think. Indy Phantom, they can't compete with Tim's and McDonald's for coffee here. Too pricey. Yeah, here people just... they don't mind spending a giant amount of money on coffee for some reason. Here, the place to get coffee is Wawa. I know you probably never heard of Wawa. It's very regional, but Wawa is like the place to get coffee here, and it's cheap. But Starbucks is like in the top 5. Dunkin' Donuts is in there. But there are all these smaller places that are trying to compete with Starbucks now. So I think Starbucks as a brand, until they decide, hey, we're going to undercut all our competition and try to woo everybody back, they're in trouble. Plus, they let their baristas unionize in places, and that was dumb. That was the dumbest move I've ever seen, in my view. But yeah, I mean, I think the studios can just outsource to other areas of the country, and then they don't have to make they don't have to make the money in California, and then they could save billions in other states. But like, it's not even safe in LA anymore. I mean, the city's completely out of control. It's being run into the ground by Karen Bass. They burned down half the city, and then now they're trying to build affordable housing in Palisades. In Palisades, that's where James Woods has lived most of his life. Indy Phantom, Dunkin' Donuts was here. I kind of miss them. Had an ex-GF who worked there. Miss her less. Starlet Lily Reinhart recounts horror of director telling her to suck in your stomach. Yeah, like you want to talk about hot. Lily Reinhart's pretty hot. Indy Phantom, Karen Bass is a joke. I agree. So a director on, I guess, what is it called? Riverdale told her in a scene to suck in her stomach in a scene. And like, I have no problem with that, because actors are hired for their looks, and I don't know, he told you to suck in your gut. I mean, either do it or, I don't know, get yourself fired, I guess. I mean, what's the big deal? You give directions to actors all the time. What's the difference if he tells you to suck in your gut or say that line again? It makes no difference to me. But I don't know. Apparently she decided to get preachy about that. Oh, and this was another big story. There were so many big stories this week. Fleetwood Mac, Lindsay Buckingham, was attacked by a stalker in Los Angeles. And apparently this woman's been harassing him for years. Let's see if they have more data on her. She hasn't been arrested. She was identified but not arrested. She has a history of altercations with the music star and has been cited for stalking him in the past. I don't know why they haven't arrested her, but she threw a bunch of liquid on him and they didn't know what it was. In 2024, police rousted Buckingham from bed after a fake call had been made alleging the singer's son, William, was attempting to harm himself. Police later discovered the call was a hoax. Buckingham has alleged that his 53-year-old stalker made the call. Yeah, I don't know why this woman hasn't been arrested. Indie Phantom, California won't protect you, Lindsay. Apparently not. So, and somebody else got harassed by a stalker. I forget who it was, though. I want to say Cardi B. I think they ended up at her house arresting a guy. See, that sounds like the double standard. Like they arrested the one against the woman instantly, but the one against the man, they're like, oh, you'll probably be fine. Man, I'm losing it. Bob's Burgers actor Eugene Merman was in a very serious car accident and had to be rescued from a fiery crash in New Hampshire by the governor of New Hampshire's security detail. So this was a big story too. Apparently he crashed his car at a toll booth, and it just so happened the governor and her state trooper detail were at the same toll booth when it happened. So the governor ordered the state troopers to go help him, and they pulled him out of the wreck. So Indie Phantom, Cardi B, LOL. Here's more on Supergirl. Fearing a flop, Supergirl star Miley Icock pre-blames sexist superhero fans. Not a good look. Indie Phantom, damn, that sucks. Bad accident. Yeah, apparently it caught on fire and everything. Former rock star Bruce Springsteen turns concert into 3-hour anti-Trump lecture. I know you love that. Pedro Pascal, Mark Ruffalo, Madonna, and other Hollywood elites demand shutdown of Texas ice facility. That was earlier in the week too. No one cares. And finally, checking the New York Post. How seriously wounded airman climbed mountain, hid in crevice, and dodged Iranian bounty hunters for 36 hours. Tell me this isn't going to be a movie. This is 100% going to be a movie. So that's going to be a fun-ass movie. Starring Chris Pratt. Florida beach plagued by spring break debauchery host Easter service. Okay. Indie Phantom, Springsteen totally lost the plot. He certainly did. Well, as Razor Fist would say, it's not get woke, go broke. It's get broke, go woke, then croak in terms of his career. So this may be a desperate ploy by him to stay relevant in the modern age. And I think so. Feels that way. Mission accomplished, how the U.S. used SEAL Team 6, a CIA ruse, and a death from above to rescue missing F-15 airmen. They've been schwacking dudes chasing him. I saw the video. So, like, the airmen's up in the mountains hiding, and I guess they knew where he was because he probably had a radio or whatever. So they had, since the Iranians don't really have any more air support, the Iranian soldiers were trying to go up the mountain to find this guy, and the helicopters and I guess the jets were just coming in, and you could see the infrared or whatever they're using, the night vision, and they were just like boom, 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 and you just see there's 10 guys running up a hill and like explosions, and they're all getting taken out. NPR didn't quote a single member of Michigan's synagogue after attack, but interviewed terrorist pals in Lebanon. Talk about losing the plot. NPR is done. Absolutely done. What a disgrace. Shoo. This is David Duchovny in some sort of show he's doing called Soapbox. I don't know why he's dressed that way. I guess it's part of the plot. Artemis 2 makes historic moon sighting as crew preps for highly anticipated lunar flyby. So this was another big deal too. I mean, this had nothing to do with Hollywood really, but the moon launch was pretty exciting. Just so much going on. It's hard to keep up. Oh, I forgot this story too. So this is Kristi Noem's husband on the right. This is a real picture, by the way. And I don't think we talked about this last week because this happened like this week. Another thing that happened. Kristi Noem's husband was found to be into wearing fake boobs. And I don't know, looking at girls on the internet, which kind of shines a different light on her cheating on him. It feels like that's a bit mitigation if he's doing this kind of crazy behavior. And she knew about it and was telling him, like, you can't do this. I'm like the head of the DH, or whatever the head, head of the DHS? Yeah, the DHS. Indie Phantom, that's some cool combat. Yeah, it was cool. Duchovny must love drag. He did it on Twin Peaks in 91 and when it returned in 2017. I vaguely remember that. But yeah, I mean, imagine being married to the hottest woman in Washington, Kristi Noem, and then you're doing this? He's got some issues, I think. Damn, that was weird S, says Indy. Pluck of the Irish, how an Irish genius drove down the price of Guinness using AI modeled after reality TV winner. That's pretty amazing, but you see, you have an Irish genius, and the first thing he does is what you'd imagine an Irish genius would do. How do I reduce the price of Guinness? Archaeologists find 2,100-year-old bullet in Israel with a sarcastic message to enemies. I think bullet, they mean like a slingshot bullet. That's interesting. Delivery driver's kind gesture leads to $40K in trips from strangers after viral video. Oh, so this was a DoorDash driver who's an old guy and he's working, and they raised a bunch of money for him. Good for them. Indie Phantom, the left will meme that even though it weren't tied to Noam. They love it. I'm sure they do. And let's see, anything else here? Easter Parade in the Big Apple. Okay. Single mom Rumor Willis hits back at parenting criticism with her video breastfeeding 3-year-old daughter. That's too old. Come on, you gotta move on. Sports. Kardashians, don't care. More on Blake Lively. One of America's prettiest cities works to find a solution for homeless and drug dens. Okay. Indie Phantom, happy Easter to all. Yes. Yes, happy Easter. Yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this. I think we're done. Gene Simmons' epic put down on fan raging at him for being rich. Don't care. Yeah, that's about it. It's about it. All right. Let's call it a stream. Because it's 10:41. I got to get book 20 together. That's it for me, Tony D. What have we learned today? Well, we learned the box office was mostly Mario Brothers and Project Hail Mary. And if you add the top 10 movies, everything else is pointless. It really is. It was 195 million. 130 is Mario Brothers. Like 30 is Project Hail Mary. The top 10 movies make up another 30. And the rest of the movies make up like less than 5 million, I think. Indie Phantom will rewind to check box office. Yes. And what else did we learn? Hollywood's the same. Hollywood's doing what Hollywood does. Nothing good. So get out there, Hollywood. Do something different. For God's sakes, stop rebooting things. Make some original movies. Hire some original talents. Have a contest, for crying out loud. Just have a movie contest. Indie Phantom, kind of hilarious, yes. You know, and I don't know why you had to put down the Mario Brother movie when you knew it was going to be popular. I mean, it's just like they can't help themselves. They have to be snobbish, DEI loving political commies, I guess. They just can't help it. They can't just entertain and shut up. Shut up. Anyhow, that's it for me, Tony D. What do I have coming up? A couple of things. Just real quick. I will be at Terraces at Seacrest Village on Wednesday at 2 p.m. for How to Hunt the Jersey Devil. It's for the residents and their families. Ooh. Then on the 11th, I'll be at Fort Mifflin, which is not New Jersey. I have to correct that. It's actually in Pennsylvania. Indie Phantom, shoot selves in the foot. Yeah. And then on, what am I doing? Let's see. I lost my place. Yeah, Fort Mifflin on the 11th, and then on the 12th, and that's from 10 to 4. And then on the 12th, I'm at the Ocean City Music Pier from 10 to 4 in Ocean City, which I do every year. And I love it. It's in Ocean City, so come on down. So it's going to be a big weekend, going to be a big week, and Book 20 will drop in a few days. I'm going to go work on it now. Thanks for tuning in. Happy Easter, everybody. Thanks for everybody who came in, and we'll see you in the next one.